Yeah, no one watches this.
We could start an OnlyFans, do as the people do.
Hey, Alice. Thanks for coming on a good night. I got my buddies with me. It's a full moon.
It's a
Uh,
full moon.
yeah, it's a full moon tonight.
Yeah, it's gorgeous out here.
Yeah.
Well, we're in a fucking room, so
I see you feel it.
I see a full ring light.
That's the moon.
Oh,
Yeah,
that makes a lot more sense.
it's in the room with us. Also in the room with us is
That way.
Ellen Kinney, and we got Dakota Jernigan here as well.
I'm back.
He's back. First of all, how are you?
I'm doing very well, very well. Little ups and downs. I'm in Seattle now. Life's a little crazy out here. It's a different paradigm than Nashville, for sure. But you know, life's good. I got a good job. I've got some friends. I live with my best friend, or one of my best friends, and do some art and go to the gym, exercise. That's something new for me. And go to work. That's my life right now.
Dakota, tell me the saddest thing that's happened to you recently.
What the fuck?
The saddest thing I won't go too deep into this, but got out of a relationship, and that was a really big one. That was the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life.
I was
And-
one of the punchline for opening my drink.
It's like, oh shit, I didn't actually want the answer.
no, man. I'm gonna be real and as transparent as I can be. But gotta respect other people's stuff too. So I won't be getting into any of that.
That's when that has happened to me, that's the hardest thing that's ever happened to me too. It's yeah.
Relationships they're important, right? Like for me, they're like the most important thing that there is relationships with my loved ones. And so
if they weren't that important.
Yeah, if you don't care, then it doesn't matter. But yeah.
I was just talking about
that much more important thing. It better be like a goddamn like dream, like I'm gonna be fucking Michael Jordan. If you have something that's that much more important than your relationships with your loved ones, you're like, man, you know what's more important than my relationships with my loved ones? A car.
What if she just like burnt the toast one too many times?
Damn it, cut off. Respect yourself.
Cut
off.
Yeah,
no contact. Blocked. Out of
I don't want friends. I want a Bugatti.
Exactly. And what color is it?
Yeah.
Top G.
Red top G. Got them shades on, smoking cigars. I'm not really a huge Tate friend.
Really? That's I'm very, very good. If you were, we get awkward quick.
A lot of my friends are heavy into Tate these days, and they send me stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, some of it I agree with.
What's your friend's favorite sex traffickers?
Epstein.
The GOAT.
Yeah,
that's it. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Tate people too.
Epstein, he did it great. He did it the best out of anybody, you know. Blackmailed every influential person in the world, basically.
Sabermetrics.
He's kind of the godfather of child trafficking. Oh man. Well, you are one of the most like missed loved people. 'Cause
Oh,
like I just had Zach Caffrey on a few days ago.
oh, really?
Yeah, man. And yeah, man, we talked about you for a minute and just like I know a lot of people that really miss you, man. I'm glad you're having a good time up there. You're one of my favorite people. And you've been busy artistically as well.
Yeah.
You've been very active as an artist. You didn't give that up, and your art. I've actually got your painting right here.
Yes, Arthur, the
Um,
sword and the stone,
yeah, this stays back here during the pod,
Magic
part
Merlin.
of the permanent set. This is I love this piece so much. I was so happy to knife this from you before you left.
Yeah, it's got a nice composition of a feminine triangle in there too, with Arthur and Merlin and the sword. So you have all these very masculine things, but this feminine triangle.
Wow. I do see a D&B in this location, but a puss overall with bush.
Wow, I love that. I never even
Aggressive.
noticed the little slope there, like that.
I found
almost-
I
this
found
could
this
even-
mountain. I found this mountain. Everybody be proud of me.
The internet, Reddit has been wondering which mountain this is in the distance of this painting for a long time, and you actually found it.
I found it. No,
You-
it's not a myth.
You stood at this crevice and looked out at that mountain.
Yeah, it's right at the center of Imagination Land. I don't know if y'all have ever been to Imagination Land, where all
yeah, I've done mushrooms.
daydreams come true.
Yeah, I've done drugs before.
Give y'all a new song I'm working on right now.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck yeah, man. Do it.
I'm woke as fuck. I'm woke as fuck. I fell asleep, but I woke up. I'm woke as fuck. I'm woke as fuck. I fell asleep, but I woke up. I'm woke as shit. I'm woke as shit. I woke up. I took a shit. I'm woke as fuck. I'm woke as fuck. I fell asleep and I woke up. That's it.
Fuck yeah.
That's great. I need a lot of bass behind that, and it's perfect. Yeah, don't waste your time adding things to it that are not bass, just bass. A real channel trace vibes on that. That'd be great.
Oh man. So another thing you've been doing that I really love is this. What's the series called? The newest one?
What's the what? The series, Open Dialogue.
The open dialogue series you've been doing, and like I think you were like as shocked as I was to see the response to that, or did you kind of expect that?
I wanted to not expect it, but I did expect it. It has the least amount of likes and the most amount of comments on any Facebook post that I've ever made. It's interesting.
Wouldn't be the controversy series if it didn't kick in Facebook's algorithm to make sure everybody saw it.
Yeah. I guess it doesn't surprise me that it's controversial, but it does surprise me like how upsetting it was to
Yeah.
people.
Something that I thought was interesting is like I posted one of like about family, and all these people were like, yeah, family. And then I posted another one that was like, religion is good. And they were like, wait, only one religion's good though. Just my religion's
Let me
good.
specify. That's wild.
That's hilarious. And that's
The
clear.
same people calling people snowflakes and betas, in the previous post are now getting all butthurt.
That's what I think is kind of wild about all of them is or like from the ones that I've seen is just that like it needs to be 2 to 3 degrees away from like an actual point surrounding like an ideology, but people are like, nah, this is dog whistly enough. I connect to it like from just like, oh, have children save civilization. That some people are like, yes, the white race, and other people are like, you're a white supremacist for posting this.
I
It's
don't. I mean, like, I'm aware that that's happening, but I really don't understand the jump in logic. Like, where does that connect to
it's
that?
because there's just a lot of people who like and like fucking Nazis, like real ass like racist as fuck people who are like, we need to have more white babies, and only white babies, and uh,
So the idea is that it's saying more than it's saying.
yeah, that's what I mean. That's like the entire like I feel like concept of like dog whistles,
Okay.
and like why.
So it's subtle.
So
Yeah.
like
Because
it's 2 steps away from like the
you know what? I'm
point,
convinced
which is,
Dakota's a
like,
white supremacist.
exactly.
You
but,
son of a bitch.
But
I'm gonna write so many mean comments about you, dude.
he just put like the artistic equivalent of like uh the somewhat applies option on like one of those 1 to 5 things, where it's like, oh, I'm right in the middle for like save civilization, save the children. People are like, you're either a white supremacist or you're a white supremacist and I'm a fan of it.
That's just so silly to me.
Those are the
Like-
only, like, if that was the poll that you put for it, it's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I was put into a lot of boxes that I feel like I don't really fit into or prescribe to at all. Like one of the very first comments that I got was kill yourself, save the planet.
Fuck.
Based though. Like maybe like if that's a personal attack on you, I think that's problematic, and that person should rethink.
Oh,
their
but just
comments.
kind
But
of like that if
if
people
they're just
didn't exist.
like
Yeah.
kill yourself, like be part of the solution. Fucking what is the AI and all the movies decide that we're the issue? Kill yourself, save the planet.
You know, you might be onto something. It might not have been a personal attack
Right.
if it's like one of these people that's like people bad.
Like, yeah, people bad, kind of like very nihilist.
There are a lot of people that are like humanity should just stop.
Like, and I have thoughts about that often.
But here's
it's like we should.
Okay,
but,
so
like,
we're talking about this now.
also fuck that. But, like,
So I'm of the opinion that humanity is the most important thing going on here on Earth. So it's like we need to change our behavior, but I think stopping existing, even if you could say definitively, no matter what we do, we're a detriment, is probably the most important thing going on here.
yeah, and I mean, priority wise for me, despite the fact of somehow, like sometimes what I feel about, and like if I think that it's like, well, number one, like I still like gotta, it's
Yeah.
like gotta take care of number one in terms of like yourself, but also in terms of like, I'm not gonna be like, no, like cows should take us over. We should probably dwindle out as a species until only ants remain as the
I think the
dominant
problem
species.
is like there can't people running the country shouldn't, or the world for that matter, shouldn't be of that opinion because they're not going to do what's best for people.
It
So it's
doesn't
like
matter what they gotta have as little power as possible.
Yeah.
They can fuck
Okay,
up.
so the World Economic Forum, they want you to eat the bugs, right? They want you
We're
to
just
own
talking about that.
I'm down for eating bugs though.
he's
Hey.
a bug eater.
Like I'm a vegetarian, and like if you said here's a bug meat substitute or like bug its own thing, and it tastes pretty good, like I'm gonna judge it on its own like merit there. And also if they're like, if somehow people could be like, this is what you have to
So here's
that'd be an issue.
I actually I don't know about the bugs, but I think it
Eat
is noble
Eat
to
'em
be vegetarian. But I think if you are going to be a carnivore, the least you or like eat meat, the least you can do is well try to do it as ethically as possible, whatever that means.
Like first off.
Yes, save humans for the main course. But also like actually if you're consuming resources at all, you should be doing something. Like at the very least having a really good time.
I mean, that's like we can't escape that. Like,
Yeah.
if you ask me to look at things from a goldfish's perspective, I might be like, actually, fuck humanity. They should all let go. But you can't. You gotta be like, hey, I'm on your side. I like you guys. You know who's human? My fucking mom. Like, too bad. I gotta be on our side no matter what, and look at things through that perspective, and hope that we do better.
Yeah, we all have families. We all are just people, and we're all trying to figure this out together. Don't nobody know it all.
There are some people that have their, I don't think they want to be on the side of everybody, like on the side of people. Like these would be like the anti-humanists that are active about it, like active about what they do. And
Is any anti-human active except for on the
like,
internet?
well, probably the people that run the world at like the highest level.
Yeah,
They're not
Those people-
anti-human. They're just pro them. And I think there is a that's the distinct differences between a thumb twiddling evil person and somebody who just says like, oh, the easiest way for me to like get more resources and money and win my game is like,
I don't know, man.
just to
Like-
exploit people. I'm gonna do that one.
A lot of the most educated people are anti-humanist. It's like the college sorts, like that
Yeah.
career students. Like what people in universities, like professors, they're like, this is something among people who think they're intellectual. It's like the cool thing to do. You're enlightened.
Yeah. Oh no,
You're enlightened.
I've been through it too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It's
I just
it's a phase. It's a phase.
It is
like being totally
it is such a
nihilist all the time.
teenager
You're
thing.
like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I read Camus, and now like I you know nothing
Yeah.
means anything, but I want to party. You also are sometimes
It is
like,
a phase.
actually, humanity's the fucking curse, man. We're the virus. You listen to Agent Smith, Matrix.
You're absolutely right. It is a phase because now that I think about it, I went through that phase.
totally, yeah, same,
Yeah.
totally.
I love the song Enema by Tool about, the world ending,
Revelations.
comets coming down,
Yeah.
and LA just washing into the ocean. Like, all right.
That does sound pretty great. That does sound pretty awesome.
But then we'd be missing all our biggest stars.
Yeah.
They're all going to
What
Texas
am
now.
I gonna do?
They're all going to Texas and
No, that's
Nashville.
only if they're canceled. They go to
Oh,
Texas.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
we really need
Texas.
the ones that aren't canceled, though.
Austin's the
I mean, if you
hub,
haven't
right?
ever done something horrible,
That's yeah, we need
What are
only
you
the canceled
hiding?
comedians.
What are you hiding? You're doing something.
You're just doing normal shit wrong, man. Just,
Hey, so
like, I don't know. I fucking like I hit a parked car and I drove off. That's the worst thing, some shit like that. Or I always take the HOV lane, even though I've only got one person in my car. I post
Every
up
day.
every day.
Or,
I like to put a
yo, I live in the
little
HOV
skeleton
lane.
decoration.
What you mean?
Hova.
have you guys heard of Noster?
No.
I've heard of no.
So, Noster, it's a protocol, kind of like HTTP or whatever, ITCP for like the internet, or it's just it's a technological protocol. And the way that it's being used right now, people can build applications with this protocol. And Noster, it's an acronym. It stands for Notes and Other Stuff Transmitted by Relay. And I started using Noster because I was getting Facebook banned so often.
For the art?
For comments, I don't think much of it was from art, but it would just be like comments that I would make. One of them,
Okay.
I got
How many of them
banned.
were threatening government officials?
None of them were none of my comments were
active
threatening.
threats. Sorry, yeah.
So it's really interesting. So instead of you posting something and it going to Instagram or Twitter server, it shoots it out to all these different relays, and then all of the relays capture it and then broadcast it to the network. So like one relay could censor you. They could be like, oh, I don't like what Alex is talking about on Rhetoric Rabbit Hole, so I'm not going to share his shit. But then
Shadow ban.
there's 10 other relays that you're signed up for that we're like, we don't care. We'll post this content. So there's no algorithm, there's no data collection on it. And then it's not made by a company. It's a protocol.
That's what's
So it's
Okay.
there's one that I use for iPhone called Damus. So if you add the protocol and the app together, it's Nostradamus. But there's a lot of these applications that there's YouTube like Nostr clients, there's Instagram like Nostr clients, Twitter like Nostr clients. Most of them are Twitter based right now, but there's other ones that you can do that are like paywalls. So you can set up content and be like, well, you can't see my content unless you zap me a payment, and then they're free to see that content that you post.
Video on there?
Yeah, you can put videos on there.
I'm gonna start uploading there then.
Yeah, it's you may have to upload it on YouTube, and then you just embed the video onto Nostr. So
yeah,
I mean, it wouldn't be necessarily censorship resistant in that way, because if your video was taken off of YouTube, then it may no longer work.
I'm not gonna get taken off of YouTube until someone starts watching, so don't have to worry about that right now.
Oh yeah, you can say whatever you want right now.
Yeah, because
we're shadow banned out.
Alice.
Shadow banned from the get-go, right? Yeah. At least Alice is here.
Yeah, I think it is funny how like this is something I've had other friends go through, like not to the degree of seeing what you've gone through recently, but like through similar things. And something I've realized is like anyone who knows me through this. So it's like, oh, Alex said something controversial, like fucking yeah, no shit. It's just like
how many times I've sent this man on a one-way trip to Pennsylvania.
But like if you're an artist and like your stuff is not political or religious, whatever it is, and then you start saying that, it's like immediately people like you're gonna divide your fan base. It's something that happens with art. Because I mean, like a lot of the time too, like when it's like an actor or like some like superstar musician, it's like, what the fuck do you know? You know, yeah. It's like you're a dumbass. What do you like? I don't care what Robert Downey Jr. has to say. I don't care what Leonardo DiCaprio has to say.
I care about what if he's gonna recommend an opiate to me. I care what Robert Downey Jr. has to say. My man, what he's talking about. He's a goddamn expert.
Okay, certain subjects.
Yeah. Respect people.
Yeah.
Also, if he wants to talk
I'm just
to
saying,
about
I don't
acting,
need like if DiCaprio wants to talk about cow farts, it's like, dude, who the fuck are you?
If he wants to talk about middle parts, I'm all ears though. Like
middle farts.
Middle parts.
What's middle parts?
The DiCaprio 90s window.
Oh.
That's, come on.
A middle part. Okay.
My man had the best hair in the biz. Charge people for what they're good for.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm safe from that because it's like if you know me at all, it's like that's not a surprise if I say something.
Yeah, and when you have 1,000 followers on the internet, like good luck canceling me. What are you gonna do? Canceling me? What's it mean?
That's not a real thing.
Canceling has to do with sponsors, like people that back you financially.
All that is, it's honestly, canceling is based, my opinion, of like the
my
idea
biggest complaint with it is
like,
it doesn't work.
Well, yeah, no, it's
like
nothing.
It just
that's why it's nothing. Is it just like you're just like, oh, a lot of people have said your things that you've expressed or done mean we won't pay attention to you anymore. Very free speech and like free opinion. And then corporate sponsors being like, yo, a significant enough portion of our audience don't fuck with that right now. we're gonna back out, like
Yeah,
very free market, and then
sure.
I mean,
They have a
we've
right to
all
do that
seen-
if they don't want to.
yeah, it's like, and then like it's not like
I'm just saying it doesn't mean anything until it's financial.
no,
Like it's like
and it
through
also
sponsors.
doesn't ever fucking end up meaning anything, or all the people who canceled, like everybody who actually cares.
Well, a
about
lot of
them
the
is
time
like,
it either doesn't work or it backfires
Yeah.
super hard.
then they get their
Oh, and it boosts
that
them.
says I'm canceled.
Yeah, like I feel like Andrew Tate, that's whenever he blew up, right? Is like, or
Yeah.
Jordan.
Oh, that's when
No one knew who
anybody
he
started
was
caring
until he
about
was a
him.
meme. Yeah.
Which is like,
Which is
that's
funny.
the most
He was a professional fighter too. Like, but
he
I've
was-
never, and
he
I keep
admitted-
up with UFC, but I've never
Okay.
heard of Andrew Tate
Yeah,
before
that's
that.
I keep up with boxing somewhat. I don't know mid
Was he a
fighters.
boxer?
No, he was
was
just a
MMA.
mid dude in like UFC or whatever, which is fine. Good for him. If he would have stuck with that, I would have liked him a lot more than
If he just shut the fuck up. This is my
shut the
point.
fuck up.
Like if
And
you
not
play
sexually,
sports,
and not
or
sex trafficking.
you're an
women.
actor or like you're a musician, hey,
No, sorry,
just-
no, I will not say that. You have a platform. You're allowed to say shit.
oh, you're allowed to, but like
Also,
you
but
better
what-
like
but,
you have
like,
a good take.
have a good take. Be funny. Make me like you. If not, I totally get to be like, fuck you. I don't
Yeah.
like you.
I'm just saying it's not a
fuck
good
off.
move for them most of the time
Oh,
because it's
no,
never a
no.
good take.
No,
It's not like-
well,
it's
no,
like the
sorry.
dumbest
The
shit ever.
problem is, it often is a good move for them because, like, a controversy are getting the most comments on Facebook. Controversy fucking sells.
Yeah.
People engage a lot with controversy. When's the last time you remember something, either a song that like was, I think of quintessential example.
Controversial is
like
good
Lightning in the Thunder.
because even
by,
if people hate it, they're talking about it, which
Yeah.
is like it's both of that is engaging.
That's what like social media algorithms are huge with controversy. They love controversy because
Yeah.
it generates a lot of
The things that are going to get people talking the most of the things that are going to take off.
Last year when the Richmond, north of Richmond song came out, right? Like it blew up overnight, millions and millions of views, and it was kind of controversial too. A lot of people could relate and they felt very strongly about it, and then other people were like, "Oh, he shouldn't be talking about fudge rounds and welfare in that song."
Because that's a
And-
dog whistle or something.
yeah. That's again, it's like
Dog whistle. I mean, like I don't know.
one actually in that song, I was like, yo, fucking industry plant. You're just like,
Maybe.
cool. You're roasting fat people and
in a
people
similar
getting
vein.
welfare. But also like, I guess there's the difference between a dog whistle there and then like some people just hate welfare, and I'm like, what's the fucking skin off my teeth there?
It's in a similar vein, like the people that own Jason Aldean are like fucking geniuses.
Yeah. Oh
'Cause,
yeah.
Because like
Try that in a small town.
is like it
because
immediately the whole internet
I
was
don't
talking
pay
about it.
attention to fucking country. Do you know who I remembered existed this past year? Jason Aldean. So like, fucking congrats, guys. You used.
It's like if you don't like
used
something-
lynching to just like really sell your artist and make a lot of money. I
It's-
hope you're happy.
The answer is like if you disagree with something, don't feed it at all.
Yeah, don't feed the trolls. It's the lesson that's been lost in the past like 20 years of internet. Is don't feed the trolls.
Yeah.
It's just
I've
trolls.
been thinking about getting rid of my phone here, and in
Get
the
rid of
next
it.
couple of years, I would love to be like back to a phone that I can't even use Instagram on.
How about a beat?
And
Just a beat.
even if I have to sacrifice, painting sales or whatever, it's like,
You
might
can
just
get
be
someone
on.
to handle your website for you.
You
or
can also
something.
get like a bricked out like iPad, or I mean, if you don't have a phone that has internet, that's gonna severely cut down on the amount of like social media you can even access. Because like,
Yeah.
unless you remember to bring your iPad to the toilet, assuming you're in your house with your iPad or whatever you've got for like, I assume more art things, you're gonna be like, oh fuck. I guess I'm gonna T9 word text somebody right now. So I got better.
I
shit
think
to
it
do
would
than social
be
media.
fucking awesome if like you didn't even have access to the internet, but you were doing all these super controversial things that you never saw the response to. That'd be fucking awesome. You just
That'd
be like,
genius.
yeah, just like have no
Come back
idea
one
what's
day and
going on.
I got 1 million followers. Like,
Yeah, Most of them
Good.
hate you, but it's like they all join so they can see when you put something out.
I'll just
Yeah.
manage you, and then occasionally I'll be like, man, Dakota, uh, you should really wear these Bombas socks. You should really be into this Bombas socks. In fact, if you could in your art somehow reference these Bombas socks, I think that would be neat. If you could say stamps.com is great, and the post office sucks in your art somehow, I know you're not connected to any of your social media or followers, but that'd be nice. I think that would send a big message.
You're just collecting endorsement
Yeah,
checks.
yeah, I'm just
Hey,
getting endorsements.
So
I could use a little of those checks too.
Oh, absolutely. 10%. That's customary for when you have an agent.
So the series we've been talking about, Alice, if you haven't seen it, this should be a recording. If not, I'll put it up in. But I thought it'd be funny if we just went through these real fast. So like,
Yeah.
have
There-
children save civilization. To me, I don't understand this one being controversial. People are not having kids right now, and I know the people that hate people think that's good, but like it's not for like the longevity of humanity. So I guess it just kind of comes down to me. This kind of comes down to, are you pro-human or are you anti-human?
I feel like that's reductive. Sorry, Dakota, you go ahead and address your art first. I don't fucking tear it apart, man.
Well, here's what I think is interesting is I spent maybe 20 minutes on this piece, you know,
I noticed
laid
the
down
pussy wasn't very detailed.
laid down a few colors and was like, yeah, this is gonna get me some bullshit. And I just that's the idea behind the whole series is that I thought that I would get shit for all of these pieces. And it's probably some of the like worst art that I've done coming from a technical place, intentionally. And then some of the best art that I've done in getting people to engage with it.
I do maybe one a caveat to that in terms of best art you've done to get people engaged with it. You did draw an ugly portrait of me that I gifted to my mother, and she liked it very much. So that one has to be.
I want to see
high on
that.
the
You
list.
gotta
It's a
send me
good
a
one.
picture of
It's
that.
a good one. It's a
I've got a
lovely
couple
picture.
of them.
Yeah. Oh, they're
The
great.
bad-
She loved it. She was
The
very
bad
happy with
portraits
it.
are like one of my favorite things ever. I don't know if I ever told you, Dakota, but like years before I met you, I saw you you were making a painting on a canvas while New Wave Rebellion was playing on stage at the end.
Yeah, I painted sleeves and
Yeah,
he was
man.
giving the finger, right?
There was a show at the end, and Dakota's in the back painting the whole set,
Hell yeah.
and it was badass. I didn't even know Dakota. It was years before I met him, but I remember that very distinctly. So like
Yeah.
and then once I met you and saw what you did, like I'm a huge fan of the bad portraits, and I'm a huge fan of this series because I actually, you know, not like delusions of grandeur for either of us, but I think this conversation and what you're doing are important. I think these are important things to do. I'm not like overinflating the importance, I guess, of like the individual artist, but this kind of conversation is kind of rare. Like I don't think three of us agrees completely about everything, but it's good that we can have this like conversations like this and not like we're cool. So it's like
So can I
this
ask
is
a
like real
question?
dialogue doesn't happen enough, and I think your series obviously provokes dialogue, which is an important thing to have, because if you haven't heard an opposing argument, you don't know if you believe it or not. Like
Yeah.
without putting your ideas, that's when things become dogma. Like I think growing up in a religious cult kind of shows me that everything is a religious cult. Like every ideology is like
It's just ideology.
Yeah. So if you don't know an alternative, like that's all you know. And I think it's at like an all-time low right now. People are not willing. Well, first, it's a mindset thing. First of all, people are not willing to have their minds changed a lot of the time because they identify with their beliefs. I am a Christian. I am a Republican. I am a Democrat. It's like, no, you're not. You're a human being.
Alex, what
Yeah.
you got me so fired up and angry that I'm gonna leave the room for
Okay,
about
all right,
a minute or so.
Okay, that's cool. But hey, can you grab me one too?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, grab me one too.
Yeah, grab Dakota one. But no, I love that you're doing this, and I think it's important. Real dialogue is important.
Yeah, I intended to have this be a show that was in person, and I feel like the conversation would be a whole lot different in person, and it wouldn't be so much anger and things coming out. I could be wrong, but
Do you mean to
I
think you're
kind
going to incorporate this into a live performance somehow?
I could probably knock these out pretty quickly, and
Okay.
like do, let's say this one that's pulled up now. You know, I know what it is. And I can paint it again. I can paint a very big version of it in maybe like 15 or 20 minutes, and then just do another one and just crank them out.
Yeah.
Right? They're all really simple.
Is that what you were planning originally? I didn't mean to interrupt you. My bad.
No, I was planning on just having like 50 of these hanging up at an art gallery.
Gotcha.
The thing is, though, is getting a show with this kind of work. I can't see myself putting like a $300 price tag on a painting like this, and that's probably what's required to get it into a show.
Okay.
In a place out here.
I gotcha.
Because there has to be some incentive for the gallerist as well.
I should have asked, are these for sale right now?
I would certainly sell any of these. Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know if they were sold or not yet. So Alice, if you're watching this and you see any of these that we're going to go through that you like, hit up Dakota because they are for sale.
Yeah. Throw me $50 for any of these, plus, I don't know, probably $5 or $10 to ship. So $60, it's yours.
You still doing bad portraits too?
Yeah, actually, I shipped off 4 bad portraits today to one customer.
So Alice, buy one of these and then go get yourself a bad portrait because those are dope. I've got a couple of them.
Yeah, and bad portraits are only $25, and that includes shipping. And you literally just message me on Instagram, send me a picture, your address, and then I'll tell you where to Venmo me or Cash App me or whatever.
Hell yeah. So on to the second one here. This is part of the series, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to go off my initial take on this because I don't know exactly what you're saying here, actually. I see. Oh, I understand a little better now. I didn't notice what colors the flags were. Okay. And then it says now hiring 725. I don't actually know what to make of this. I don't know. Maybe the ones with words I understand better, I guess.
Yeah. So this piece is virtuous flags, and McDonald's has actually they've flown Israeli flag. So the Palestine, in actuality, I think the piece would speak on I could do another one that's just the McDonald's flag and just the Israeli flag, and it's essentially it's what I was trying to say here was corporations are going to take the things that are important to you and use that to sell you a product.
Okay. So basically, okay, I understand now. This is about corporation virtue signaling to get on your side and get you to buy it. The corporatized virtue signaling.
Yeah. When they're a corporation, like they don't like there's people in their corporations that maybe agree or disagree with some of these things, but they want to take a stand.
Everybody
know,
gets real cool in Pride Month because they're like, yeah, no, people like fucking support like gay people. Yeah, get away with it. And you're like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I think of them as it's not necessarily, I guess the controversiality to me in this comes from fucking capitalism itself. But like besides that, it's like you're just kind of a fucking fair weather signal of the times. It's like, oh, your buddy who like kind of cares about sports is like, now a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And you're like, I guess they're good. And same if you like see a Ukraine flag, you're like, I guess most of public opinion is on the side of Ukraine, or else they wouldn't be doing this right now, or whatever it happens to be. It's like I, and then if you're just like on the opposite side of it, I could get hating it, but like,
I don't understand that because I feel like either this is not. I don't think this is a message anyone can really argue with. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like-
but that's the controversial part is being like, I hate queer people so much that like when Target does a like pride ad thing that like I'm gonna like go threaten to blow up a sword, and it's like, yeah, I guess so. Whereas like
I see. People get so mad that they take it too far. Is that-
yeah, that's like the only like the most controversial people are like drawn to this where they're like, I see another fucking battleground. It's time to go. And like, not in my goddamn Target are we going to either support Israel or Palestine. And that's more 50-50 where you're seeing basically nobody take a side. I think the Onions about like 6 months ago was like, the Onion has decided it's on the side of Israel because it seems like you get yelled at less for that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like that's exactly like where all these things are, where it's like Target has a bunch of marketers in like demographic.
I don't agree with that at all, actually. Like, that's just not true from what I see.
What do you mean for what?
Being pro-Israel is like,
Oh no, that was again.
Yeah,
I said it was 6 months ago.
I think the Onion.
oh, I
saying,
got you now.
everybody was
This is
like-
before October 6th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I got you.
Yes.
Okay. I misunderstood. Okay. Yeah. Because now it's like, I don't know.
Now it would the same exact article would come out and it would be
And the
like,
other end.
like pro Palestine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, Alan, I was telling Alex a minute ago while you were in the other room that like if I had known the information that I have now, because I did this piece in October, right?
Mhm.
And if I had the information I have now, then I would have made that flag Israeli flag, or I could do another piece that's just the McDonald's flag and the Israeli flag.
That's interesting.
I would say if you just did the McDonald's flag and the Israeli flag, it would be 10 times more controversial because people would make it associate people. If you juxtapose two powerful like symbols like that, people are going to form opinions. Whereas this one
And put McDonald's between it, dude. That'd be so good. Do it.
this like it fucking like fires up, or this like I feel like it almost fires up less because, well, at least like most of your audience. Oh, that's what actually. Can I take a second and ask you a macro question about all
Sure.
of these things? How many of them, or does this matter at all, are your viewpoint, if that makes sense? Where so many of these are vague, just like statements that are controversial. Like, how many like do you are like, I believe a lot behind this, and it's not like behind a ton of nuance.
So like save civilization, have children, save civilization.
Mhm.
With that one, I don't think that you like have to have kids and that's
No, of
your
course,
only
that's
purpose.
good.
Like you're a human. This is a physical, a spiritual, and a mental experience that we're having. And having kids can be a part of that experience. And we literally have to have kids in order for civilization to be
but-
saved. It doesn't
Like,
mean
if
that
you look
you
at that
is-
like a ontological, is that what they call it, level, where just like definition of words, like
That is literally true. We cannot survive
without having children.
without children.
Unless you want to debate if clones are children or not children.
Yeah, I want perfect replicas of me for infinite generations.
Or lab created cat girls.
So,
Everyone is a cat girl.
Everyone is cat girl now.
So in Seattle, where I'm at, and this is
Everyone
probably
doesn't
where
have to make a cat to girl. Yes, absolutely.
like virtuous flags. There's all these businesses everywhere where every business that you see has, you know, a rainbow flag, a Black Lives Matter flag, a Ukraine flag, all hanging in there, and like I don't know, is that important to do?
It's important to sales. It's important to we want
this
people to
is
shop
where-
here.
Yeah, it's a lining up, I would say, of that. It's people who are from that area. That's kind of the values of the area, is why they're able to get away with that. But also that means that the people who work there are from the area and probably are like, no, this is important to me to do this.
If they're
Just like
doing
every
that,
person that like has the like near me, like the in this house we believe in science thing, where I'm like, that's a lot, but like I guess thank you that like most of the things you're talking about are like respecting people that I care about and
I
like
see.
not being like, kill them all.
Now
Thank
this
what if-
you.
this is a
what if
this is
they're
a
doing things
generalization here, but I'm pretty sure that it's mostly just well-off white people that have that
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah, that's
That's
completely
true.
that's 100% who has that sign. What I
Yeah.
appreciate is that the well-off white people are at least on a performative level on the side of other people. I'm like, all right, cool. Like at least you're
So
considering like
I have a lot to say about that.
uh,
Go ahead and finish your point. My bad.
oh, I just like I would rather see that around than like the two things that you might see in the South, which is like a Confederate flag or a Trump
So
sign.
here's where I'm at on that is I think that the people that are virtue signaling the hardest,
Mhm.
like the well-off suburban white people that are virtue signaling that hard, are the most racist people because they are. It's called white savior syndrome, where you are like, I feel so guilty about something my ancestors did that I'm going to save all these people because they need my help. They need me to save them as a white person, and that is not a conscious thing that they do. That is just who they are as a person.
It's a step.
And it ends up being a
Which
little
is,
racist
which is really
itself in a
racist.
way.
Like you're saying Sandra Bullock in in The Blind Side is more racist than like I don't know, fucking like 12 Years a Slave. You're like, oh, that girl's actually more racist because she's like they're also inferior. It's a step along the way of being like,
I think they're
like,
comparable. I think they're comparably racist.
They definitely are on the same vein, but goddamn, if you were that race, what would you prefer?
Well, sure. Yeah.
Then that fucking matters, right? And you're like, what that means is you shouldn't trust those people. You shouldn't be like,
trust them.
be like, hey,
You shouldn't. You shouldn't vote for these people.
But like,
Yeah.
are you going to be like, so I'm not going to vote for those people? The slaveholders.
Well, it's not
though.
white and black though. It's not slaveholders and white saviors.
It's not. No, you're like every person who believes more like progressive thing, and probably everybody who's on the right side or like on right wing things too. I'd say the right side of things. You understand what I mean? The correct side of things.
Obviously.
Obviously. No, everybody on that is both like, fuck the person who's like towards the middle on this and like their compromises that they
I
make.
think I should be clear. I think both sides are cults. I growing up in a religious cult, I'm like, oh, both of y'all are in religious cults.
Yeah, if you're like a party person, I don't fucking get that.
Yeah.
If you're like deep into like one of the political parties and you're like, I love this political party. If you're like, these are the people that I have to vote for to like push slowly towards what actually fucking matters and empower the people that does. And I'll do more on a local level to like
I can
actually
understand
like, talk to that. That's like where you're like, okay, there are different.
I also understand your argument about even if they're not doing it for the right reasons, it's things I want.
It's a fucking step along. Yeah, no, stop expecting people to be good enough for you because they won't be. If you're like, it's like a fucking dog that has like wandered towards not shitting in the house and is only shitting on the exit rug towards like the door, and you're like, we're along the
It's
fucking
better than
way.
on
We're
the
along the
couch.
fucking way. It's yeah, I'll put a puppy pad there and we're gonna try and get you outside next. But like right now, I would rather that than on the couch. And that's effectively what you're looking at.
I can understand that point of view where it's like this is a step in the right direction. I don't really I don't trust it because
No, you shouldn't. It fucking blows.
and like I think there's maybe better ways we can get things into the right direction, but those
I don't think waving a bunch of flags is the way to go.
No.
And just covering yourself with flags. I don't think that's how we do it.
I would almost I would disagree with that. When it comes to an individual or what is often in these cases a local franchise of a business, but like there's no way that McDonald's corporate is like, well, actually, I would love to hear it, but I don't think it's the truth. It sounds like something people would make up. McDonald's corporate being like, you're in Seattle, you have to fly a pride flag like during Pride. I think it's probably just like a bunch of like fucking relatively liberal people from like Seattle being like, yeah, I'll fly a fucking gay pride flag.
No, they're like, there's so many gays here. We have to fly a flag.
It's either because because the person is a wonderful dyke owner who's like, yes, for me and my girlfriend, we're doing this, or because they're like,
I don't think that's the case with McDonald's, right? Like with McDonald's, it's shareholders.
Individual franchise for these things, which is the only thing that
the flag. Okay. All right.
That's what I mean.
And it's not corporate, it's franchise.
All right. I think those that is important to like. If you're same with like fucking throw up ACAB everywhere, man. Like fucking let everybody know that like.
Well, I'll agree with you on that. Fuck the police.
Yeah. Fuck the police. Fuck the police fucking everywhere. Fly your flag on that. Put it in.
I was gonna do an open dialogue piece, and it was gonna be a woman cop. And it was going to say all cops are people.
That's a very controversial one. That would get a lot of conversation going.
I would immediately decry it and say no, they are bastards.
My friend Dylan Wilson, shout out King Lazy Eye. His acoustic guitar says all cops are boyfriends, which is my favorite.
No, don't take cops. They hit you and they fucking enforce the state's
I think
monopoly on violence.
Yeah.
But they are people, and sometimes you need to call the cops. And I'd rather we live in a society.
What did you call the cops for?
I'm in the middle of this with you guys, and I'd like to break in here because I used to be like, we have to have a we have to have some kind of police force.
Yeah,
until I realized that like police specifically came from it was the police force was formated out of slave hunters. And here's the thing about that is we used to just handle shit on our own, which I'm way more about. Like we all just were fucking strapped, and if there was a problem you just fucking took care of it. And like there was still laws, but we had things called citizens arrest, where it's like if you see some shit that's not good, you take care of it. And it's not as much of a problem if we're all fucking strapped. Like, because we can all just take care of shit when it's around. And I'm a big believer in people are going to do dumb shit. Not everyone should have a gun, obviously.
You need vetting for those things. In fact, what I think about a lot of like especially the civil police, I think there should be somebody who fucking investigates the murder. I think fucking
investigation. You should have detectives.
Yeah,
we don't need beat cops. We don't need.
What you should have instead is, especially for most of those laws, is somebody who explicitly the public knows is not armed, and they're basically just like especially you can use a lot of older people in the community to just like go up to people, flash their light, and be like, you shouldn't go that fast here. It's me, someone your grandma's age, so that nobody is going to be like, oh, fuck, like, if I don't shoot this person, I'm not going to be able to get away. And there's going to be that. And most people are just going to be like, fuck, that's like fucking in the neighborhood. Like, that's fucking Anthony's grandma. And she's going to yell at me. And I'm gonna feel bad about this. Like, and
Most policing can be done
nothing,
socially.
nothing,
It doesn't have to
nothing
be
of
the
this
government.
has to do with like the kilo that I have in my trunk. So I'm not like gonna shoot somebody over it. And nobody's gonna like be like, oh, that dude who was pulling out his ID had a gun. They're just gonna be like, you shouldn't go this fast.
Yeah.
It's bad. And you're gonna be like,
Most policing can be done socially. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be from the government. Now, I do agree with you that we do
Yeah.
need like detectives to investigate
yeah,
crimes.
you gotta have the people who like fucking are like, yeah, there's a serial killer. We should fucking catch that dude. We'll like that. And the problem is, the issue is that most communities, eventually, finding their way to justice will just recreate, a policing system. It just won't have the same birth as ours, so it's not
Oh, sure.
necessarily.
There's like a city,
it's
it's a
just
city
that,
watch
like,
is what that
that's-
is. Or
yes.
it's like street watch.
That's always going to be a thing. It's about approaching that in a correct
Yeah.
way. Because it will like, I mean, it's always like you can't just be like, oh, every citizen will do it individually.
I don't,
That will
yeah, I don't
probably
want
never
to, I want to be
a thing.
clear. I don't think that everyone should be able to carry a gun because there are a lot of people that would do bad things with them. And even the people that are of sane mind, there's going to be people to do bad things with them.
And
But the thing is, when they try to do that in a crowd of people, they're not going to get nearly as far because everyone has a fucking gun.
No, that's the worst case scenario, because that means everybody's like, hey, I'm fucking scared out of my mind and shooting right now, and I feel empowered to shoot. That's the last thing you fucking want. But
I think there's more good people of sound mind that there are of.
I think
Okay, so this is where we actually
trust
disagree.
You a bunch.
This is where we
and
actually
Nick, you
disagree.
trust me a bunch, and Dakota, I trust you a bunch. If there's a bad guy, like a complete like moral non-judgment bad guy who starts shooting in a crowd, I don't trust either of you or me to take out a gun and take down this person without shooting a lot of bystanders.
It would be better than nobody. That's better than nobody. Because one out of 10,000 is going to be a school shooter. But
it's about like fucking.
So
trying to
if the other 9,000
no,
have
because
guns,
that means any like tragedy or fucking. Because what happens then is Dakota, you were eyeballing that dude in the corner who was strapped up, open carrying because he was protesting something specific and he was doing an open carry for it. He started raising that shit up. You started aiming at him. Alex said, "Holy shit, we have a fucking shooter in here."
I got you, Dakota. Yeah. Let's fucking go.
No, it should be that.
I'll back you up, dude.
Most of us are
cool. Don't come at
Dakota. Most of us are like, I assume most people now, and I don't know, it is most people now are not strapped when they go out. And most people just like make it through their days and then
but when some shit popped off, my point is it would get handled a lot quicker than you waiting for the police to show up.
Don't count on police, but like
you need to be able to defend yourself without the police getting involved.
And I'm gonna run away.
And then there's places like California where you can't even defend yourself. Like if someone breaks into your house, you can't kill them. And it's like that's
I guarantee you can.
Well, sure, but there's cases where that didn't work out in their favor.
Typically those there's actually, I mean, most of those are fucking McDonald's coffee case.
Did you hear about the girl that stabbed? This happened like last month. There was a girl in California who stabbed her boyfriend 100 times, but she also stabbed her dog. So they're like, oh, she wasn't of sound mind, and she didn't even go to jail because her argument.
Where did she go? What is her life now?
Her defense was.
Is she just out on the streets?
He made me hit the bong 3 times, and I only wanted to hit it twice.
Is she hanging out on the streets with regular people, or is she intensive mental care? Because that's what.
No, she got house arrest. She's on probation.
I would have to look it up because what often happens is those things where like they got off on the defense of insanity is like insanity defense means a fucking lifetime of like having to do shit and
I would
like
hope
I'm
so.
like
For
and it
something
should
like
be
that.
and it should be like and that's uh yeah that's all of those things I don't trust an extremist law case nearly ever unless it's literally uh the Jewish bakers saying no to the Nazi cake.
So let's move on to the next one here. This one's my favorite.
I know you centrist piece of shit. You beyond the horseshoe, goddamn.
No, I'm just not sucking either boot. Like I'm not sucking either of their dicks.
No, there's the state and there's you.
Yeah.
Right.
There's
That's it.
There's
These are the same person. That's just two puppets and the same guy. It's like, and it actually legitimately blows my mind that people still play this game of left and right. Like, are you fucking serious? You think that there's a choice here?
Yeah.
You
That's
really
what I
think we
don't
have
get,
democracy?
no, you have a bunch of shitty options based on kind of like a general system.
I don't
Like-
even think, okay, so here's, I don't even think we have actual elections. I think everyone wants to make this a partisan thing when I say it, but I think like every election was rigged in my lifetime, like since Clinton. So yes, I think the last election was rigged, but I also think the one before that was rigged, and the one before that was rigged, and it actually blows my fucking mind that people are falling for this because
I would say is they have like
it's their god.
If the strategy, sorry, if the things are riggable, then one, both parties know it, and it's kind of like that's like the whole politics thing, and also why it's fucked is like that like strategy between like, oh, we're totally cheating on everything, and like we're gonna.
So you think
one
of these people cares about your interests more than the other?
I think one of those people has to, because of their voting base, pretend to, and pass at least
Nothing ever really changes though.
Yes, it does all the time. Have you fucking seen Reagan? Have you heard about the 80s?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so
things can get a lot worse.
A lot of things changed then. You're right.
Yes.
Like drug laws, for example.
Yeah,
it's like,
and so exactly. So like it's two parties. It is the very.
I'm gonna say in my lifetime, nothing has really changed. Very little.
I think the biggest change that's happened in American history is getting off the gold standard, confiscating the gold in 1933, and then ending the convertibility of the U.S. dollars convertibility to gold in 1971. I think that is when innovation started being stifled.
Where do you think that gold is?
Gold's just a shiny yellow rock.
Yeah.
With some okay properties, but people just agreed that it was money and it had value because it's hard to dig up out of the ground.
I agree that like things can just be money, and like that's.
I mean,
it's just all the kind of agreement that like that's the problem with all of politics is like you can't just like redo it the way that you want. You have to fucking deal with like the system as is right now. Where like gold, we can't like we did like get off the gold standard, but gold is also kind of money to us. And like if anything is to become like the other real standard, it's like
where do you guys think that gold is? Because it was supposed to be in fucking what is it, Hoover Dam, and it's not. So I think and I only say this half sarcastically. I think that aliens created us to mine gold, and then once we became smart enough that we're like we're not just going to mine gold for you. They're like, what if we create a system where everyone tries to accumulate as much gold as possible? That way we can go get it in big chunks.
Rather than a fucking great job if that's the case.
Yeah, send it back to Nibiru.
Say what?
Particularize it, put it in the atmosphere of Nibiru.
Yes, it's for their atmosphere. Dakota knows.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I wanted to give Dakota some time. What do you think about this, Dakota? Is this one you agree with, this painting?
Do I agree that there's two parties and that they're part of the same evil?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, me too.
absolutely.
What does
Absolutely.
sorry, explain yourself more. What does part of the same evil mean to you?
I
How
believe
similar
that.
are the two parties in your mind?
So there's things that I like about each of the parties. If the conservative party's saying we want to lower taxes and we want to give people more freedoms, I like that. And then if the Democratic Party is saying, we want to take care of these social issues and do welfare, give free medical care to people, like I like that too,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I do think that they're important. That if we are going to have this politics play, that we do have these two parties, and that there is this balance. I'd much rather we be doing this two-party charade dance game, I guess, than just a direct authoritarian dictator.
Yeah, I'm with you. All power, whatever possible.
There, if we had a monarchy and there was an honest king, and the king told me how much he was going to tax me, and he told me how things are going to be, maybe that'd be okay too. I can see how a monarchy could be all right.
Oh yeah, because that's the easiest
I
way to
don't.
make good decisions, or like to make decisions quickly. And so if you have a fucking
Yeah.
out there doing all this shit, it's
The
great.
the
Oh
pivot.
no, man, I disagree so strongly with both of y'all. But go on.
Oh no,
Hey, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I love that we're having this conversation.
but wait, what do you mean? Sorry, so if
Derek,
sorry,
okay,
the assumption is
let
that
me
monarch is perfect.
let me-
And
no.
I'm not going into like hierarchy, or sorry, heirs beyond that, because that's where I of course explicitly agree with like all of like monarchy type of stuff. But like the most effective system is just like one fucking dictator being like, here's how we
So
do things.
this actually brings me to another one of Dakota's.
Could we stay on this topic real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, but I have a lot to say about the next one.
Okay. So with I just want to bring up sortition governments. Have you guys ever heard of a sortition government?
No.
No.
Okay, so that's where you say, I'm a citizen and I want to participate in the government, so I'm going to throw my name into the hat. And then you use an algorithm to figure out what the demographics of these people are, what their incomes are, what their race is, their age, their sex, and all the seats that you need to fill. And you do a random selector based on the demographics of the community
Okay.
or the
that.
state or the country. And this eliminates a lot of corruption.
Sure.
Yeah, because
And
half the people aren't going to want to do it, which is great. That's exactly what you want.
yeah, and you could get, a 2-year term, and let's say you get a salary of $50,000-$60,000, and then
Enough. Yes.
and then there's not really all this lobbying happening, and all these plants, and people are just, they're regular people. One thing that you do need for a sortition government is you need experts that the people can talk to, like scientists or environmentalists or engineers.
That's sortition. I feel like that's where it would come into like that's where its corruption would come in, or like the issues there would be like if those people who by design can't get used to the fucking process have to rely on experts, including both like the cool ones who are like, here's like what the actual science says on this, and the ones who are like, here's how you win people like us more spots. That's like, I feel like where they would be corrupted, it would be the experts for that system who will take advantage of everybody having to be a kind of noob.
I think what you would need there in order to counteract that, because I definitely get what you're saying, but would be to decentralize the experts. So to not use the same experts all the time, and to have
lobby, like how we have like lobbyists who it's like their fucking job, like find a way to
yeah
stop. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, you can't be employed as inside of this circle of experts inside the sortition government. It's just like they call up experts, and maybe as a society, we just agree that, hey, if I get called up by the sortition government and they want to ask me some questions and do consulting for 30 minutes, I do my part.
So
for society.
you're eliminating like a chance for lobbying and like for it to get corrupt.
Yeah, I think it would stop a lot of corruption. Maybe not all of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It sounds better than like a lot of things sound better than what we currently have.
I believe that Athens was sortition for a long while in Greece.
It's
so
yeah, I guess like the positives is very much dissolution of power there, where like nobody's gonna be able to do that fucking much. And then the issue is that like, can it, like, what would happen in COVID for worse COVID, even to like bring it there for like a Sortesian government? Like, if COVID even killing more people, just so we're sure that it's the most dire thing in the world. Like, how does a bunch of people who are like, oh, I've been running the Department of Medicine for fucking 6 months and not the past like 12 years.
Well, I think maybe those some roles could be different, right? Like they could be instead of
a council or something like that for each like where it's not a total like delusion for experts in terms of like you just call a rando, but more like there's like a council of like 24 experts or something like that for each of those things, and like that way nobody's that fucking powerful and can do like that much. I would just like be like, what, like, could we move fast enough if there was like that big? I'm saying like COVID plus. What would a Sortesian government do about that?
Hopefully not what our government did.
Yeah, but I mean, if everybody's like fucking 8 months into their job, are they gonna be good enough at it to be like, hey, we should
if we crack open how they would handle COVID, that's going to get into conversation about how we handled COVID, and we got to move on to the next one.
You got it.
So Dakota, is that good with you? Can we move on to the next one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right, Dakota said we handled COVID great, so we're moving on to the next one.
So this actually, we were just talking about systems of governance. So I want to tell you guys a little story. So one day, a bunch of people realized, they're like, hey, instead of obeying a monarch and putting a man in that position, what if we had a set of ideas that took its place? And they're like, we could have a book of ethics that takes the place of serving, instead of us serving ourselves, we're serving this ideal that's written in stone. And that's where the original, like, at least I don't know that much about other religions, but I know a lot about Hebrew, and that's how Judaism was formed. Was they're like, let's agree upon some ideals, and then we will serve that thing. Now, what happens inevitably with something like that, with any system of governance, is it gets corrupt.
Yeah, every time.
And so it was a lot of great ideas founded, but then what happens is one guy goes, well, I speak for God. So I decide, actually, this thing we all agreed upon, it actually needs to be updated. It's something that it's no longer, God says that you got to do something else instead. So
yeah, you got to get on your knees to get into heaven.
Wink, so wink. I think this can be done without mythology, but if you're talking about an archaic people that, for example, in the Bible, it's like you can't eat pigs. A lot of Jews are not strict about that anymore because they realize what happened is that was about brain parasites. Yeah. But try explaining that to people like 6,000 years ago. It's like it's much easier to just tell them God doesn't want you to do that. and like
That's why
evidently,
most of
right?
those
Because the
things-
guy
yeah.
who did, he's not doing good.
Yeah.
So
That's why most of those things like don't murder.
so
That's bad.
so some things do need to be updated, right? Where it's like there's a lot of homophobia in scripture in the New Testament and Old Testament. And it's again, we're talking about a safety thing, right? Where it's like if you're being, it wasn't just homosexuality.
Wait, you're not
it was
making more
sodomy.
babies for our fucking
It is.
people,
So
like,
there's
or
an argument
whatever
there
it
too.
is.
It's
Yeah.
about
Or just,
productivity.
like, if you're straight and you see two gay people fucking, you're like, ew, that's not what I like. And so religiously, you're like, God hates it.
Well, okay, there's probably some of that too. Like homophobia is part of the reason, actually. It probably does start that way. But then there's other things where it's like this is it wasn't just homosexuality, it was sodomy. So it's like if you're fucking a girl in the butt, you might get sick. And they're like, we don't understand this very well. But we do know that some of the people that do this, God doesn't like. He doesn't like it when you do that. So it's
some
yeah. But so
God
as
makes
as
so
as
happy.
technology progresses and we don't get parasites from eating pigs and we invented condoms, it's like we and it like understand like bacteria and germology and like the pathology of those things. And it's like so some of these things do need to be updated.
Yeah, like now it's
Yeah.
fucking 2024. You can anal a pig. It's
Yeah.
totally fine now.
So it's like when
Under Judaism, it's totally fine. to
there
anal a
might
pig,
have
right?
been there probably
Confirm that,
is
say it on pod.
what you're saying
That is
fucking
totally-
a pig is
that
okay.
is- Under
is,
Judaism,
okay.
it's totally fine
Alex-
to condom fuck a pig. Under Judaism, Alex
Under-
says this on pod.
Under Abrahamic law,
Under-
it is halal to fuck a pig. You heard it
with
here
a
first.
condom.
With the condom. I'm sorry.
Absolutely not.
Our greatest scholar, Alex.
Yeah, you quote me on that. Take that out of context. Anyway, that's how I feel about this. Is religion good? But then what happens is it gets corrupt, like any system of governance.
I do think religions get corrupt. Yeah, I think churches get
Can I
corrupt.
give Noel a statement?
Let Dakota go first.
Yeah, I've been a believer for say 14 years. I was raised Catholic, just kind of loosely, and then around like 14 years old to 18, I became just the super devout atheist. Tried to convince as many people as I could to not believe in God. And back to that Anima song by Tool, you know, really wanted the world to be ending, right?
I'm praying for mayhem.
Yeah, praying for rain. So I had a strange experience where I tried to call my father that I had never met before. And he was like, your mom's a whore and you're not my kid. Good luck. Come meet me in church. Come. That's the only way I'll meet you. I'll meet you at my church that I'm a deacon at. And I was like, no, I'm good on that.
Yeah.
But it was such a painful experience to go through that I didn't believe in God at the time, but I started believing in God that day. I walked outside, I looked up at the starry night, I started praying. And then over the course of that 14 years, I've gotten more and more into prayer to where it's just become a daily practice for me. And it is not a religion. It's not a religion. It's my own personal, spiritual faith, but it's not based upon the Hierophant.
That's great.
I'm reading the Bible right now.
Got a copy.
And it's been 20 years since I've read it. So I'm revisiting it. But I wouldn't consider myself a Christian. I think
that's funny. Spoilers. You and I are more Christian than a lot of Christians.
Yeah, like
there's a lot of people that say they're Christian, and the thing about Christian is the literal definition of that is follower of Christ.
Yeah, follower of Christ. Yeah.
So I don't think it's enough to just say that.
You gotta do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, Dakota, what do you consider a religion versus your own code of things? Is religion what you just mean as like a grander, like a code followed by many people, instead of your own code?
Yeah. I think what I'm doing is a bit dangerous, right? Because if you have a religion,
How
it
was
does
that
give
boy?
you these set things. And you know, if you have to pray 5 times a day, I think that's a good thing. And it'll probably keep your head on straight. And you know,
It's
maybe you don't
actually
go.
Yeah, do you know how many
There's-
therapists been like meditate 5 times a
Yeah,
day,
I was gonna say
motherfucker?
there's a lot of scientific evidence for that. The prayer is really good for you, and it really doesn't matter. This gets into chaos magic. When I discovered chaos magic, that kind of became a big thing for me because it's about these things work. Don't worry about theory. Don't worry about whether it's psychological or whether it's from
Do
outside.
it on vibes.
It's like just do it and let's explore what is possible. So it just becomes a psychology thing. You can call it like spiritual, or you can, if you're like a Jungian, you can just say it's completely psychological, and it's kind of two sides of the same coin with stuff like that. Any magical practice, including prayer.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm cybering
Uh,
both of you. I'm cybering both of you so hard. I'm about to take off.
You leaving?
And I love you very much. I have to go
Thanks
to
for coming,
Cincinnati
Allyn.
early in the morning.
Oh, dude. Well, thanks for coming out, man.
Alex, thanks for having me on. Dakota, great to see you again. I've loved this.
Alan, it's so good to see you. The first time I met you, man, it was really powerful, and I just kind of glued to you, and we just
That's what
chatted
I
all
said.
night.
It was a great. We bonded hard. That was
When I
Yeah.
told
a
him
fucking time.
when I told him we were doing this, he was like, "Oh, I definitely
I
want."
said that's my boy.
Yeah.
That's my boy. All right. I hope for the best for you in your new wonderful life.
Thank you, brother. Same to you.
Drive safe tomorrow, dude.
Bye, Alan.
Bye. Yeah, I think this is mostly a good thing. It just gets corrupt like any system of governance. Like I'm a big believer in what the like Declaration of Independence is about, but that's also been completely corrupted from.
Yeah, like let's look at the Constitution. Like in the Constitution, it says that gold and silver are money, and that they're the only money, and that there shouldn't be paper currency issued on top of it.
Gotcha.
Right? Like that's
So it's like
well,
all coins then.
yeah, coins. I mean, if you were to have a nickel, or I mean a quarter, excuse me, you had a quarter today, and it was a silver quarter from the 1950s or something. You know how much that quarter's worth? $5, man.
Wow.
$5 of silver. So
Yeah,
it's worth what, 20 times?
all of our gold is either in China or in space right now. Either the Chinese took it or the aliens have it.
I wrote a song a long time ago about this. I had to have been 20 years old, but it was like, save your gold. This money's getting old. I forgot what to say, but I know what I was told. A ship's coming down to collect the gold. That's what I was told, that our earth, it had been sold.
Yeah, man. That's what's going on. I know how crazy that must sound if you're not aware of that, but I really do think that there's a lot of alien interference with humanity right now.
Yeah, I mean, if there is, they're doing it right. They figured it out.
That's so funny how incidentally this ties into the next one.
Yeah.
If you're just listening and not watching Alice, it says need money. They're printing more. And it's a picture of the actually, which building is that?
It's the Federal Reserve Building.
The Federal Reserve Building, just in a sea of cash, lots of cash. Yeah, it's being devalued. It's like there's actually no. I've never heard like a really good argument for inflation. Like, why does it inflate at all?
Yeah, so 2% inflation is the base. That's what they say is good. And what the argument is that if your money is going to be devalued a little bit, it's going to encourage you to spend it, and it's going to disincentivize you from saving it. And the Keynesian theorist says that the most important thing in an economy is the spending of money, of people buying stuff.
It's got to be liquid. It's got to flow.
Yeah, it's got to be liquid. It's got to be flowing. But money does have another use. You can use it as a store of value. So that's one of the things that you need to have for something to be considered a money, is a store of value. But when you store a money and you're using it as a store of value, it depends on how many units of it there are, right? That's where scarcity comes into play. So if we have scarcity in play, that's what this is speaking to, is it's take the amount of money that you have and then divide it by infinity. And that's how much your dollar is worth. Take the amount of money you have, divide it by infinity, and that's what your dollar is worth. Because there's infinite of them.
So it's worth nothing at all.
It's worth nothing. Yeah.
Yep. I see what you mean. It's like it used to mean something when it had a gold standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the last 2.5 years or so, I've gotten really into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is a money. It's an internet money. It's a native internet money that anyone can use. It's peer-to-peer. You could download a wallet for free that no one can stop you from downloading. And I can send you money and you'll receive it in 10 minutes. And no one will know. You know, it's
I remember the first time I learned about Bitcoin is when I was buying narcotics on the internet.
Did you use Silk Road?
This was post Silk Road, unfortunately. I mean, obviously, I would never actually do that. I would never actually. That's not something I have ever done or will ever do. But in imagination land, that's how I remember hearing about it. Even before it was like a big thing, it was just a way you would use it for contraband.
Yeah. So with Bitcoin, I'm not sure if you know this about it. I feel like you probably do, but there will only ever be 21 million of them.
Really?
So yeah.
I don't know anything about Bitcoin, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay, really? So Bitcoin, it started in 2008. There's this pseudonymous guy, Satoshi Nakamoto. He writes this thing called it's a white paper, so it's like a scientific paper. It's called Bitcoin Peer-to-Peer Electronic Cash. It's 9 pages long. You can watch a boring video of me reading it at Boring Bitcoin on YouTube, and it's very boring. All right. Or you can go to bitcoin.org and read it. It'll probably take you 15 minutes to read it. And basically he says that he's figured out how to send money to someone over the internet without a third party. So you don't need a money transmitter. And it's the first time that has ever happened without a centralized authority.
Sure. It's a free market. It's not right.
It is a free market. And then also what's happening on the Bitcoin network, it's small enough. I think it's around 800 gigs, and Bitcoin's been around for 15 years, right? So you could have a 1 terabyte hard drive and have the whole entire blockchain of Bitcoin, the history of every transaction since the Genesis block in 2009. So you can have that on a computer, and you can be securing the network and making sure that people are making the blocks how they're supposed to be, and validating blocks that people make. And you can do that with your computer right now. And in 15 years from now, the blockchain will probably be 1.6 terabytes, which how much will a 4 terabyte hard drive cost in 15 years? Well, probably $30. because of Moore's law. So Bitcoin's built in a way that it can be decentralized. No one can stop you from making a Bitcoin payment to anyone. No one can change the supply of Bitcoin. No one can double spend their Bitcoin. If you have the Bitcoin, it's yours. It's what's known as a bearer asset. It's the same as holding a gold bar in your hand, or the same as holding physical cash in your hand.
Can I get you to dig a little bit deeper on what is Moore's law?
Moore's law is that over a small period of time, that electronics, the storage and the speed in which they operate, like computers, are going to accelerate like exponentially. So they're gonna, every year, electronics or computers are gonna double in their capabilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Now that's probably not the most concise and precise definition of it, but that's essentially it.
So because there's only 21 million Bitcoins at all, there is no inflation. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Which means the more that, and I don't understand anything about fucking mining, but not all of those 21 million Bitcoins have been found or something like that.
Yeah. So the way that Bitcoin issuance works is you try and solve a math problem. And this difficulty on this math problem changes depending on how many people are trying to mine Bitcoin. So the more people that are mining and putting in energy into it, the harder it becomes to mine it. So you mine it by guessing a number, and you have a machine called an ASIC, and it's a specialized computer, and all it does is SHA-256 hashing. And it's just guessing a number trillions of times per second. Trillions. Just one of these computers guesses trillions of times per second. And if you guess the right number, and it's not even a specific number, it has to be within a range. If you guess this number, you get to sign the block to the blockchain and start the next block. And whenever you sign this block and you validate this block of transactions, you are rewarded something from the Coinbase, which is like the first transaction in the block, and it sends you a certain amount of Bitcoin. So the way that it was set up in 2009, when it started, it would send you 50 Bitcoin for signing a block. And that was nothing. It was literally worth nothing. And then you'd also get a transaction fee from all of the transactions that are inside of that block. And then the way that it works is every 210,000 blocks, which is about every 4 years, the issuance rate is cut in half. So from 2009 to 2012, 10.5 million Bitcoin were made, which is half of 21 million, right? So half of the 21 million were made in the first 4 years. And then for the next about 150 years, the rest of the Bitcoin would be mined. So so here's some interesting math, is that in the year 2032, 99% of the Bitcoin will be mined. Today, 93.5% of the Bitcoin have been mined. But the last Bitcoin won't be mined until the year 2140.
Wow.
So from 2032 to 2040, we've got 2140. We have over 100 years that the last 1% will be mined. And I won't go too much further into this. I'll wrap it back into this picture real quick. Mm-hmm. And so let's say your money divided by infinity, because we don't know how many dollars there will be, but we know that there will be more, so that we can service the debts of the country. There's with public and private debt in America, it's like $97 trillion. And then the amount of currency that is, or the money supply that is servicing that debt, is 20 trillion. So if you were to pay off all the debts, you know, you'd still end up with $77 trillion worth of debt, but you're out of money. So let's take your money divided by infinity. Now let's take your money, and would be with Bitcoin, and it's your money divided by 21 million.
Better than infinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and 21 million's not, I mean, it's a big number, but there's like 26
There are
million.
trillions of dollars.
Yeah, there's trillions of dollars. I mean, in the world, with all of the assets combined, it's probably between like 500 trillion to 750 trillion dollars worth of assets and debt and goods and services and real estate, bonds.
Crypto is it's never going to inflate beyond a peak, and also there's, I mean, scarcity. We're just talking about scarcity. Scarcity is important when it comes to the value of your money.
Yeah, I don't think that crypto is important. So let's take one of the top cryptocurrencies is XRP, and XRP is issued by this company Ripple Labs. Well, it's like, that's a problem, right? It's issued by a company, so you're trying to be a global permissionless money with you know, a currency made by a company. I don't think that's going to work. All right, so Ripple has, I believe, less than half of it has been issued. Ripple, the last time it was at an all-time high was in the year 2017, so that's 7 years ago. And there's plenty of people that are going to get some Ripple whenever it goes up. They have a lot more of it to issue, and they are going to steal all of your money that's in your bags. So there's something called securities law in the United States, and most cryptocurrencies fall under this securities law. If they're made by a company and you have an expectation of profits and you're investing money in them, it's violating securities laws. So a lot of these cryptocurrency companies, they make the cryptocurrency outside of the United States, and then they market it to U.S. retail investors, and they say, yeah, you get this thing, it's like Bitcoin, but it's faster, and it's you know, it's cheaper to use, and the unit bias is a lot smaller. Like, you can buy this token and it's only a penny. You'll never be able to buy a Bitcoin. It's $50,000. But people don't. I think people might not realize that you can have 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. You know, it goes back 8 decimal points, and it wasn't made by a company. It wasn't made by a corporation or a state. It doesn't have a CEO. There's no one in control of it. It's a Ponzi scheme without the pyramid on top.
Gotcha. This is all news to me, actually. Like, my dad knows a lot about this, but I don't know anything about it.
It's kind of fascinating. I've learned a lot about economics and things since starting to study Bitcoin.
I mean, just what you're telling me makes sense. Like, your odds are 1 in infinity because it doesn't mean anything, or 1 in 21 million because it is actually backed by something, even if it's digital.
Yeah, it's backed by energy. It's backed by it's secured by energy. It's not backed by energy. And its price is whatever someone is willing to buy or sell it for. So the price is always changing. It's different every second, and it's different in different regions. You could open up 3 different apps that you can buy Bitcoin on, and the price would be a little bit different on all of them. It just depends on their order books. I don't know if Bitcoin is going to be the future. I mean, there's a chance that it goes to zero.
Well, there's now like a USD coin.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to regulate it in a way that they can control.
Yeah. So I mean, the USDC coin, it's issued by a company called Circle, and what they do is interesting. They say, "Give me your dollars, and we'll go buy United States Treasury bonds, and we'll hold the bonds. And when the bonds mature, we'll collect a yield from those. But you, as the buyer of that USDC coin, you don't get the yield. Circle gets the yield, but it's a way for you to have digital dollars, which is pretty convenient." Some of the negatives of this would be that it's censorable, right? Circle is a company that's issuing this dollar. They're buying dollars, or they're getting your dollars. They're buying treasury bonds, so they have a liability and an asset. Their asset is this treasury bond that maybe they're getting a 3 to 4% yield, and if you're talking, I mean, Circle probably has 20 billion plus dollars issued. So they're getting, 3 to 5% on 20 billion per year. That don't sound like a bad play. But they can stop any transaction that you make. It's not decentralized in any way. It's extremely centralized.
I got you.
As an American citizen, there's almost no reason at all to use USDC or USDT, which is Tether, which is the most popular stable coin. There's over $95 billion of Tether issued. And for me and you, we make the dollar, and the dollar's the strongest currency in the world. But if you're in a place like Egypt, you might want some Tether or some USDC, because every few years the government of Egypt reprices their currency, and they reprice it by half. They lose half of its value. So it's like no inflation's happening, and then it's just boom, 50% all at once. Yeah. Yeah. And
that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
How does that work exactly? Like, that doesn't seem like it would be good for anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is all over my head, to be honest. Like,
yeah, so like in Argentina last year, they were at over 100% inflation.
wow. So that means it doubled in value, or it halved in value?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And so in 1933, when we were on the gold standard, 1 gold ounce was $20.67. And today, an ounce of gold is over $2,000. So it's $120 bills now. 90 years ago is one $20 bill. Now it's 100. So that's how much our purchasing power has dropped.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wild shit, man.
Yeah. So if you have like our currency inflates at about 7%. CPI, the inflation, they try and keep that at 2% for some reason. They're like 2% theft is okay. But the actual amount of currency that gets printed is like 6.8. We can just round it up to 7. And at 7% inflation, and real inflation, you lose all of your money in 15 years.
Damn.
You lose all the purchasing power. Yeah. So whenever inflation's 2%, the bleed is not really all that. It's not that strong, right? Like it's going to take 35 to 50 years or so for it to bleed you out. But at 7%, you kind of start to realize that. How much was a soda when you were a kid, or a bag of chips? And now you want a little bag of chips that's this big, it's $5.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 times more, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 250% inflation over 20 years.
And that's not going to get any better, is what it sounds like.
No, it'll get worse. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Can't wait to live in the future. You ever seen Idiocracy?
Yeah, I've seen Idiocracy.
That's the future.
Yeah.
I'm
Electrolyte.
I'm not trying to live that long, to be honest with you. I'd rather I just finished reading a couple months ago. We did for the book club the Unabomber Manifesto.
Oh, whoa.
And you listen to that guy and you're like, man, he's making a lot of good points right now.
Yeah.
Sure wish he didn't do what he did, because I agree with this guy. But the solution isn't that. I have some radical ideas too, but it's not that. Before I get off on that, this next one says you will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, so what's interesting here is go look at the amount of comments on this one.
Okay. Look at before that real quick. What is this light source? I want to know what's causing this light to hit his face. It's a picture of Klaus Schwab if you're just listening.
Yeah, so I mean the medium is a puffy paint. What is the light source itself? Well, I guess it's one of those alien ships coming down to get the gold, buddy. If I had to take a gander at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got
makes sense
a little.
to me.
Yeah, so look at all those comments there.
Yeah, let me how do I do that?
Oh, we're at it. We're already there. That's it. That's them right there on the right where your mouse is. That's the comment section.
Oh wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Let me test this.
Divide and conquer. How am I first?
Dude, you're right. Holy shit, there's no comments on this. I mean, now there is, but
oh, I just got a notification. I think I just got a comment on. Let me go. Hey, I'll see you in a little bit. Someone's interacting with me on social media. I got to get off here. It's too much of a dopamine hit.
I gotta check. I gotta check.
I gotta check it.
Oh wait, it looks like it's Rhetoric Rabbi hole. POD. They said divide and conquer. That's weird. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
I think I understand why there's no comments on this, because this is one that's not as controversial. It's kind of like so it's something like I talked to a lot of people on this show, and something we all kind of agree about is the government. Everyone knows the government and the legal system is fucked up.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what side you're on. Everyone is aware of this.
So Klaus Schwab, he made the World Economic Forum, and he wasn't elected.
That makes sense.
But
yeah, I hear about
this
the
bugs.
Russell Brand a lot.
You've been listening to Russell Brand a lot?
Yeah. If people are trying to cancel someone and they're like, this is a bad person, don't listen to them. That's always my guy.
Yeah, like, oh, it's time I get on Rumble.
Yeah, my podcast is on Rumble. This is on Rumble.
Nice, I didn't know that.
Yep. It's funny too, is like we do pretty good on Rumble, better than most places. Which I think is just because it's a small platform. Like, everyone thinks it's like a conservative thing, but it's more like there's all kinds of content on there. There's like gaming content. There's all kinds of shit. And any platform I can get on, I'm gonna get on because I actually like I don't plan on this show going anywhere, but I do think this kind of stuff is important. Like
I agree.
Alan clearly doesn't agree with either of us about a bunch of stuff, but I think that voice is important. It's good that, and it's like a big part of what you did with this series is it gets people
Yeah.
talking. It gets
Yeah,
people.
I'm glad that Alan doesn't agree with a lot of it, or I'm glad that you don't
Yeah,
agree with all
and
of it.
I don't agree with you. There's tons of stuff I don't agree with you about, and that dialogue is what drives humanity. It's what gets us forward in life. And
Yeah, I do believe in freedom,
yeah,
and I believe that you're an adult, and
yeah,
that you should be able to make decisions that
see,
you want to do, that are going to satisfy your dreams and your
yes,
vision and your happiness.
that's
Um,
okay. Yeah, I have a lot to say about that. Go ahead though.
yeah, I mean, I'll leave that at that. Like
So,
I think that we should be free and encourage each other to be free, and maybe stop talking about flags so much, and
yeah,
just start letting each other do what we're gonna do, because
hey,
we're gonna do it anyways. If you make abortion illegal, people are gonna go get real dangerous abortions, right?
yeah, that
Like,
what you said about not waving flags, that is the flag I'm waving. And
yeah,
what I mean by that is, yeah, exactly. No, I'm serious though. I think everyone worships something, um, whether they realize it or not. It's like if you don't have a God, it's another reason why religion good. If you don't consciously worship something, then you are unconsciously worshiping something.
yeah, yeah.
But we are
You
servile
will find
creatures.
idols.
We're very servile creatures, and what Crowley talks about this, where there was the Aeon of Isis, then there was the Aeon of Osiris, which is like female gods and male gods. It used to
Yeah,
be Mother Gaia, then it becomes Father Son,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then we've entered this new age, which is the age of Horus, which is God the me, God the human. So our gods right now are idols. We worship rock stars. Um, we worship the Joe Bidens and Donald Trumps of the world, and we don't. If we were smart, we'd turn that inward. We would say, I worship, and I think that's kind of where you and I stand. Is seriously, my God is free free discussion. My God is knowledge. I think of it like a holy trinity. There's the student, there's the teacher, and there's the knowledge itself. And those are my gods. And sometimes I'm a student to you, and sometimes you're a student to me, and I'm the teacher. And if we practice that, I think that is my God. Um,
mm,
and if you want to get edgy and conceptualize it, that's Prometheus, that's Horus. I mean, that's Lucifer. That's not that's the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. Is like do the opposite of what that instructs. Lean on your own understanding. Do what you know you think is right, and that's my God. Is I'm trying to educate myself and limit other people's power over me as much as possible. And I don't want to put my power over anyone else. I want them to be liberated as well.
yeah. That's where I stand too. I think that um, if you let your heart guide you, like your conscience, if you're not a sociopath, right, your conscience is going to tell you whether you're on the right path or not.
Yeah, this is what I
And
was coming from about the police thing too. Is we can actually police each other most of the time. Like I know what's right, and if I see someone doing something bad, I'm going to socially police them. That might mean shooting them in the head, or that might just mean that no one I know hangs out with that person because they do bad things. You know what I'm saying?
I for policing, for me, it's a little strange. Like where I'm at right now in Seattle, or living in Nashville, being raised in Nashville,
I can hear
I
you.
would
I'm gonna go pee. Keep going though. I can still hear you.
okay. I would want there to be police. I think that the city is far too big. In maybe some small town, or something? Like, could we get away from having police officers? I probably, maybe we need one. I do have a really big problem with the amount of laws that we have, where it's basically every crime is a victimless crime. There's certainly horrible crimes that happen where I think that we do need police intervention. And so I'm not a cops are bad person. I think that cops are people just like you and I. I don't think that they are. They are people. And
A
they
lot of
don't
them
get
have good intentions too. A lot of them are good people.
yeah, and they don't get paid
Yeah, they get paid jack shit, and most of them took the job for a good reason because they want to help people.
yeah.
Where I'm at with it, and why I don't think we need a police force is, I am at a point in my life where I understand now that the government has ruined everything they've ever tried to do. They suck at it. Nothing the government has ever done, in the very least, in my lifetime, the government has fucked up and ruined everything they've stuck their hand in.
Yeah.
So, like for example, the roads here in Tennessee are fucking trash, and it's because they bid it out to the lowest bidder. It's whoever's going to charge the least to get it done, which they're going to cut corners, and that's why our roads fucking suck. So I'm all about. Me and Alan were actually talking about this before the episode. I'm all about privatize everything because corporations might be bad, but I know the government's bad. So it's like, do I take a chance, or do I do the thing that I know is gonna fuck up?
A corporation is a lot better at deploying capital than the government is. So if you have socialism, you're controlling the resources, the means of production, the engineering, the implementation. Whenever they're not experts at doing those things, right? Where if you have privatized companies that, this is what we do. We build trains, and we build them the most efficient, and we're going to constantly get better, and we're going to know when we need to do research and development. We're going to know how much demand there is for this train. And then maybe there ends up not being a whole bunch of demand for it. And maybe it's like, well, now there's all this steel is available, and people are more into cars right now. So a different company buys up the steel, and they're like, we're going to make cars because people are not wanting to do mass transit right now. So capital gets allocated in better ways, and it's used more efficiently in free market capitalism.
I agree. And obviously that's going to have its corruption too, but it's better than like if there's a company, if you and I decide we want to pay a company to pave a road between your house and my house, if they fuck it up, we're not going to pay them. We're going to pay someone else to do it.
Yeah.
But the government just is going to pay the person who does the worst job for cheapest.
Yeah. I don't think that there is a free market capitalist country on the planet.
No, and there has to be some kind of regulation, because there are certain practices you want to be regulated. Like, we don't want oligarchies, because then it becomes the same thing. Like companies, if we need companies to have certain regulations on them, because so I'm not an anarchist. I'm a libertarian. I believe in small government. I don't believe in no government. But the government, we can
I
agree.
jive a lot with that.
We can kind of debate where that line is, like how small can government be, but I think we agree that the government should be as small as possible.
Yeah, I don't have a don't tread on me t-shirt or bumper sticker, and I wouldn't say that I'm like definitely a libertarian or whatever, but there's plenty of sentiments and rhetoric that I agree with from the Libertarian Party. I think it can come off as a bit cold. But I also think that like communities, really strong communities and stuff, do figure out welfare,
Yeah.
right? And I think that the harder the money is, that the better people are off. To bring it back to the money for a say, it's all about the money, right? The left's all about the money. Obviously, the government is in control of printing all this money, like we said. So um, if we were to take that control out of the government's hands and we had a hard money, we talked about the incentives of inflation causes you to spend. It disincentivizes what? Saving.
Yeah.
So what do you start thinking about whenever you are saving money? You know, where does that put your mind?
Hmm.
It allows you to plan and to think
Yeah.
about the
You're thinking
future.
ahead. Well, this goes all the way back to cavemen. It's like when you're hunting for your food every day, you don't have time to think about philosophy or mathematics because once you start, Richard Dawkins says the best invention, the most revolutionary invention in human history was the container. Um, when people invented the container, it helped a lot.
Yeah,
Now
freed up
now
a
we can
hand.
just gather berries and keep them saved for a long time rather than going and looking for them every day. And
Yeah.
then agriculture and like horticulture, which I know is something you know a lot about, is like
Mhm.
kind of an extension of that, where it's like we invent a system that's going to produce something semi regularly or like consistently at least. That way we don't have to go look for it all the time. It's right in front of us.
Yeah, let's say that we have two people and they're hunters, and one of them is just hunting with their hands. Maybe let's say they both start off just hunting with their hands. Um, they'll both spend all day trying to get food, whether they're gathering or they're hunting. And then let's change it to gathering. Let's say they're gathering, and um, person A, they just gather enough berries and things to eat and be satisfied. But let's say person B, they're gathering some berries, but they don't gather as many berries. And what they do gather is like some willow. And they sacrifice food right now and they start to go hungry right now and maybe for a few days. But what are they doing? They're starting to collect willow to weave a basket. And over the course of a week, they are getting hungrier and hungrier while person A is staying full, but person B goes on to, even through their hunger, they complete making this basket, to go with the container approach. And now they have a free hand. They can harvest and just drop it right into the basket. They can keep it safe from bears. They can save it for later. And then what else can they do if they can collect 2 days of berries in one day. Now they have a day off.
Yeah.
And what are they going to do with this day off?
Well, that's where art comes in. That's where not just art, that's like a later on thing. Like art and philosophy are later on. But that's where
Yeah, so
mathematics and all the sciences and all figuring shit out.
specialization in
Yeah.
general, it gives you room to specialize. It allows you to save capital and then
Yeah.
to deploy capital in the future.
So that's funny because that's where money comes in too, is you're storing value, like you talked about earlier. So that's
Yeah,
when it's like I have this resource, it's gold or silver, and this represents something for some reason, debatably different reasons. But um, so now I can store value even further. Now I might not even have to farm if I have enough of this because I can trade for as many goods as I need. So we get more specialized, right? Where it's like everyone
yeah,
was a farmer, everyone was a medicine man. Now everything becomes more divided out. So everything's more specialized. You can you can become an expert in something because it's what you do all the time.
So let's talk a little bit about why money is important for specialization too. There's this idea, this theory called the coincidence of wants, and it has to do with trade without money. And let's say I have apples and you have cattle, and we meet up and we're traveling, and you have a cow and I have a whole bunch of apples. I might want some beef and you might want some apples, but there's no way that we can really make this trade because I don't have enough apples that's worth a cow.
Yeah.
And you can't give me this piece of beef from the cow without killing the cow.
It also creates a middleman of like, if I have apples, but I don't want steak, I can with currency, I can, instead of you giving me beef, I just want that, like, something I can spend on something else from another vendor. So
yeah,
the potato, the guy who sells potatoes doesn't want apples, but I want potatoes. I can trade with the steak guy, and now I can purchase potatoes from the potato farmer.
Let's think about it without the money.
Okay.
And let's say you're an apple grower, and there's a baker, and there's a beer brewer, and there's a butcher, and there's a fisherman, and there's a doctor. And let's think about just this one thing that you have, this one commodity that you have, and you're having to make prices for everything. So this is how many apples is for a steak.
Okay.
This is how many apples is
Gotcha.
for a fish. This is how many apples are for shoes. Now let's switch the perspective and say you're the bread baker, and how many loaves are for a pair of boots, and how many loaves are for a hat, and how many loaves are for an apple. And you come up with all these prices with every single commodity. You multiply it by all the commodities that are out there, and you have to come up with that many prices.
Yeah.
That's a lot of prices. Where if you create a monetary unit, then everything just gets smoothed out and the friction is taken away. And now the coincidence of wants doesn't matter because you can trade what you have now and buy something at a different point in time and space. You can take it with you to a different location.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is not only it works across time as well. I didn't consider that.
Yeah. So money has gone through a lot of stages. Like we've started out with seashells and wampum, which are like little vertebrae that they would string together from like sea creatures. We've had something called rhinestones in the Yap Islands, which were these huge stones that weighed thousands of pounds, and they would take these boats out. And this is like in the Polynesian Islands. They'd take these boats out 250 miles, and they'd quarry these stones with just primitive tools, and then they'd shape them into circles, take them back to their island, and they would create a public ledger with them.
Wow.
And they'd be like, Mark owns that stone, and they'd tell everyone. So everyone knew that was Mark's stone. And then Mark could say he wanted a particular fishing area or a gardening area or place to, graze his cattle or some goods or services. He could trade his stone for that. But this is what happens is money gets defeated whenever, like, let's say it's scarce and you're having to pick up these seashells and string them together and polish them, and you have to drill little holes in every one of them. Well, what happens when someone can mechanize that? Now they're printing money. And that's what happened with the rhinestones of Yap Island. There was a guy that stumbled upon them. He got shipwrecked, stumbled upon them, saw that they used these stones as money, and then he went off and started quarrying these stones and shaping them. and he set up a coconut plantation and had all these people doing labor for him for these giant stones. So he abused the system. So it's money always gets beat out by a better money. So at some point we went onto a gold standard in the
And
in
now
the
we've moved
18
on to Bitcoin.
not yet, not yet.
Yeah.
Bitcoin could usurp it, and there are problems with Bitcoin though, and with everyone having Bitcoin, every single person on the planet couldn't even have one Bitcoin transaction to them yet. If it was efficiently distributed to everyone, and every block in Bitcoin was all the way full and it was evenly split among everyone, I think only 3.2 or 3.6 billion people would have any Bitcoin at all. So in ways it's kind of broken if you're trying to use it on the base layer blockchain.
We got,
I'm not,
yeah, it's not
I
perfect.
don't,
It still has problems, but it's better than a fucking piece of paper that's not backed by anything.
yeah, yeah. So fiat currencies only became a thing because we were using pieces of paper that said this is equal to this much gold. And eventually all the countries, it started with World War I in 1914. The whole world was on a gold standard at that point in time. From the early to mid 1800s to 1914, the world was on a gold standard. All the coins that were issued were gold. It was easy to trade between countries. It didn't really matter if your coin was stamped with the president or king of a different country, because it was gold, right? It was as good as gold because it was gold. And the telephone, the automobile, the airplane, the train, electricity, and who knows how many other inventions were made during this golden age. The same thing with the Renaissance was in Italy and France. They were using gold standard in the 1600s. So you got this really beautiful music and the best paintings and best sculptures in the world were
Things used to be
created
like
then.
quality. It's like a good violin is like, it costs a lot of money now. Like
Yeah,
back then when you didn't have like the technology we do, like it costed so much. It costed so much that and like there was like so much emphasis on craftsmanship. Whereas like things are mass produced now. It's like furniture
yeah.
is not that
Now
like,
it's all throwaway IKEA
yeah.
furniture.
Yeah, like this, I got this chair and this table at a thrift store, and they're both like really solid, but they're old as shit and they're all beat up, you know. And it's like
Yeah,
the stuff made now, it's
and you're
not.
never going to get rid of that either,
Yeah,
right? It's like
yeah,
until it breaks, it's hard to break a chest or a table.
yeah, yeah. You have to be trying, basically.
Yeah, so we went from this gold standard, and even it was broken because you had pieces of paper where there were more pieces of paper issued that it was supposed to be back in gold, but there was more paper issued on top of it than there was claims to the gold underneath it. And that's because gold is really hard to transport. This much of it is to some people worth killing a life over, right? It's worth murdering over. So it's kind of dangerous to carry around. Even 1 ounce of gold is $2,000. So one quarter size coin basically is $2,000. You know, people would do a lot
Oh,
for two
holy
thousand
shit,
dollars. Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah, so in 1914, whenever World War I started, countries started to just hyperinflate or at least heavily inflate their currency without really telling the people that they were doing it. If they made war bonds, not many people were going to buy the war bonds because the citizens didn't really care about Archduke Franz Ferdinand's assassination.
Yeah.
Right? Like how
Yeah.
did this start one of the biggest wars on the whole planet? But just about every country, I think, except for like Switzerland, went off of the gold standard in 1914. And then after World War One, they tried to get back on the gold standard, and there was a lot of problems with that as well. And the United States was in such bad trouble with their currency. What we had to do was confiscate all of the gold from all of the citizens in 1933,
Whoa.
and we gave all the citizens $20.67 per ounce of gold that they had,
Whoa.
and we
So
took it.
wait, was this done by force? Like boots on steps? Like,
Okay, so the gold was already at the bank, right? So the government just went to the bank.
oh shit. So they
Yeah,
weren't
and
going to
then
people's homes necessarily. They were just confiscating it from the banks.
they confiscated it from the bank, and then you had a claim to that gold, and you got $20.67 for every ounce of
Holy
gold that you
shit.
had. And then they repriced gold to $35 an ounce.
Oh my God, that's so
So it's
fucked.
yeah, they devalued the currency by 40%.
Force
And then
without anyone voting on that, without anyone deciding that, they just did that.
no, and this was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. This is FDR.
Man, we used to. Like, we used to. Whenever we had a problem with our system, as a people, we used to do something about it, and that's kind of what this country is based on: is no taxation without representation. Like, fuck you, England. Like, you're not supporting us. And then when we did this to ourselves, we had the Boston Tea Party. We had demonstrations of like, hey,
Yeah.
government.
What do you mean 3% taxes? Like,
Yeah,
it's
like
time to
fuck
cut
you.
off some heads.
So I mean, like, we're really long overdue for something like this. And the problem is it's either too late to do something about this or it will be soon. Because right now, if we were to have a rise up like a revolution against our government, which this is why they divide people on just about everything, because they don't want people saying it's us versus the government. They want people saying it's Democrats versus Republicans.
Yeah.
It's white versus black. It's man versus woman. And
Yeah.
they want you to focus on anything except, hey, let's all unite against an oppressive government.
It's the state versus you.
Yeah, and that's all it is, man.
Yeah.
And like, so they divide us on everything, but we have the numbers, and historically we've done something about this before. If we were to rise up now, the government, like the military, U.S. soldiers are not going to turn on U.S. citizens, but with something like the UN, they can propagandize a people that don't speak English and send people here to do that, or just drop bombs or whatever.
Well, the military is also accepting, immigrants right now and saying we'll give you citizenship.
I just watched something about that today. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're trading citizenship for military time. So there's already kind of an invasion against America taking place. Where they
I do think that, I mean, that's a great way to, offer citizenship. Like, and I feel like we've done similar things in the past. Like, if you're willing to die for us, yeah, then you're our brethren. But
if you're getting like if it's you get a green card or not, you might do, I mean, not a green card, if you get citizenship or not, you might, be willing to do more than something else, like, so then people that live here. I mean, that just makes sense. Also, like, there are a lot of people that I'm not going to get an mRNA recombinant, so I'm kicked out of the military now. It's like, I'm not going to get a shot. So you get a lot of people that want to do good things that are out now because they're not willing to do what the government says. So, and then you get more people in that are like kind of dependent on the government, super heavy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
What do we want? Freedom. Who's going to give it to us? The government.
yeah. And my point is, like, if we're gonna do something about it, it has to be now, because pretty soon it's not even gonna be that, it's gonna be robots. We're gonna be fighting robots.
Yeah.
And then it's over. Then we can't do shit about that.
There's a few ways that I think that you can be an activist and
I have some good
protest.
ideas too, but you go first.
Yeah. So and I've mentioned all three of these have been mentioned here in this podcast, but learning about Bitcoin, studying Bitcoin, because it's a money that's global and permissionless to use, and it can't be inflated and it can't be controlled by any government. No government can stop it. Governments
Decentralizes power. Yeah.
Yeah, they can ban it, but they can't stop it. You know, banning it is slowing it down. They can't stop you from using it. Nostr is information that can't be stopped. You can message people on Nostr, and you can post on Nostr, and you can see other people's posts on Nostr. So you've got decentralized information, decentralized way of sending value to someone, both of which ways can't be stopped. And then learning as much as you can about gardening, self-sufficiency,
Yeah.
raising animals.
Yep. Yeah. Being able to take care of yourself. Yeah.
Having access to land or tools of self-defense. I think that all three of those, like using Instagram less and using Nostr more, not saving in US dollars, but saving in Bitcoin, if it's right for you, if you study it and you feel like it's right for you. I think really studying all these things and maybe just dipping your toes in a little bit, and then maybe you do fall down the rabbit hole of any of these things. Like, let's say you're just getting into gardening and into homesteading, it's probably going to change your life for the better.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And your community's life.
Self-sufficiency, knowing how to defend yourself, a decentralized currency. I think that's all great stuff. To just add on to that, just a couple more. Pretty much everyone I know has decided I'm just not gonna obey certain laws, like narcotics, like contraband. Like
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that just is like I'm going to obey weed laws. Like
Yeah.
like no one does that. So it's like we as a people have already decided there's certain things we just are not gonna do. So that we could take that to any law that we don't want to do. We don't have to do it. And there are places in this country that like if they want to stop you, they can't, because they don't have again, I know you and I are gonna split hairs on this one, but there are places in America that police just won't go because they don't have an authority there. And I think
if it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
No.
So it's like if you and I took over a little place and we mostly had laws the same, but there were certain things that we just were like, we're just not going to do that here. Like, this is how a state's supposed to be. It's like, okay, us over here, we all agreed that we're going to have these laws instead of these other laws. So it's like we're already kind of seeing this take place with like mushrooms getting decriminalized in some places and pot being decriminalized in most places. It's like we can just agree not to do these things, and we can also force our local politicians to agree with us on that. Whether that's there's a few ways we can do that. Some of them are peaceable, some of them are not. But we have the power, and we just have to be in agreement on something. But they do everything they can to propagandize and split people.
I do think that it's important that we don't do any of these things with violence. And I think all three of these things that I'm mentioning here are nonviolent by nature. You know, choosing to save your money in something that can't be inflated, choosing to use a thing that where you can't be silenced, and then you know, gardening and providing for your family, hunting, fishing, gardening, raising chickens, whatever it may be. Like all of these things are nonviolent, and
So
they're all revolutionary as
I
well.
I agree with you that those are like the most important things you can do. Why do you think it's so important not to include violence in that? Because I think I just don't feel as strongly about that. Curious why you feel that way.
I think there's a lot of danger in that,
Like
right?
it's not going to work. Is that
It could work, but what takes its place after that fire burns all the dead wood?
I don't think we can overthrow the government, right? But I think we can have demonstrations and let them know what we're going to put up with and what we're not going to put up with. So if you're just hypothetically, you were to take out an official, and you tell the people are telling the government, we are not going to, and anyone you put in this position that is not representing our interests, we will remove from that position one way or another. So I think, and I have no problem with this morally because violence is being enacted on us as a people. It's already violent. They took it there, not us. And so I think we are at war with our government, with the world government. And we have to do something. We have to do a lot of things. We have to be self-sufficient, but we also, when it comes push to shove, when they come to confiscate, when they tell you to overturn your crops like they do in Sri Lanka, when they tell you that you can't have something to defend yourself with, there's a certain time where we have to make a stand and say, we're not going to do that. So when it comes, so I believe violence is acceptable and also necessary when it comes to defense. And I think we are in a defensive position right now. We are in a point where we have to defend ourselves. So I'm able to rationalize and kind of moralize this for myself. And I wish it didn't have to be that way, but unfortunately, I do think it has to be that way sometimes. But I agree with you that there's more to it than that. It's mostly about self-sufficiency.
Yeah, and I don't really even think that we can be self-sufficient either. I know that I couldn't with my knowledge, and like you said, I have a lot of knowledge in agriculture. I have a little bit in horticulture and like raising chickens and preserving food and pickling and canning and things like that. And I couldn't be self-sufficient. You know,
Yeah,
could I be an
more
important
sufficient.
yeah, could I be an important member of a community that provides value? Absolutely. I can help build,
We
plant,
need community.
manage.
Yeah,
But I do think that it takes a community. Absolutely. Huh, that's pretty funny right there.
yeah.
This is the one we're going into. Now look at how controversial this is.
You got two on this one?
I think that one's me as well.
So
This
if you're just listening, Alice, this one says make America agrarian again. What does agrarian mean?
Agrarian is pertaining to the soil. So it's so agriculture. It's an agriculture based society is agrarian.
Okay. So it's funny how incidentally we keep leading into each of these leads into each other. We didn't
Yeah, this was not planned, Alice.
Yeah.
funnily enough, and this might be a bit personal, it is, but this person, Lauren, that commented on here, she messaged me on Instagram as I started making this series, and we met up at a park. She said she wanted to be friends, and she's now my girlfriend. So, bye,
Whoa,
Lauren.
wait,
Listening.
because of this series,
Yeah,
y'all met over this painting? Holy shit.
we met over Have Children Save Civilization is whenever she started
okay.
commenting.
Well, it's good y'all agree about that.
Yeah. So we were talking about that today, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna let my dog out real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, Alice, this picture, it says "Make America Agrarian Again," and it's a U.S. flag with a picture of the United States, but everything is green. It's cut into green segments. This is a nice one. That's so funny, man. It's a small world, and that's kind of just a testament to, like, no one else is doing this. No one else is trying to provocate conversation. I mean, like you and me, like we have kind of a similar thing, a similar battle we're fighting, which is people are segmented, and I think what's happening is, like, we were talking about how everything is a religion. I have a lot of strong opinions, but my strongest opinion is that I don't know everything. And it would benefit me a lot to hear a lot of people's opinions on things. So I think the worst thing you can do to yourself is cut yourself off, put yourself in a bubble, and cut yourself off from different opinions. Is probably the worst thing you can do for your own growth.
I disagree with so many of my friends on so many things.
Yeah.
And intentionally have friends that lean this way or this way, and we'll talk to them about the same things, you know, on the same day. Talk to them about the same thing, and same day get two wildly different perspectives, and partially agree with each of them, or disagree with them about some things. And I feel like there's a lot of nuance here. I feel like there is a place for government. I feel like there is a place for welfare. I feel like there is a place for schools and college, and you know, we do need regulations on things. I feel like we do need a government. I definitely don't want to just be ruled by the AI. Do I think that we need 100,000 laws where everyone's a criminal for, you know, growing a plant or smoking a plant, or like using some alternative form of money that's not issued by the government? Like,
I think that's the biggest problem is the government infantilizes us. It treats us like children. It's like I get to tell you what's good for you and what's bad for you. But the problem with that is, like, it's a bunch of human beings telling human beings what to do. And I can speak for myself in the way that, like, I mean, no one is in a position to tell me how to live my life. Not a single person on the planet. And I can say that about you too, Alice, is that don't listen to me or Dakota either. Like, make your own opinions. And
yeah, absolutely.
You are the only authority in your life. I have a big problem with authority. I think it's an evil thing to try to put your control over another person. Now, that being said, we were just talking about how government is necessary. I think that too. But government, so a household is a government. Your parents are the government. Not only is it a government, but it's actually a communist government. They allocate things to you for free. They are Big Brother, and
and they're always watching you.
Yeah, and they're always watching you. But once you become an adult, that's no longer, even if it's your own parents, It is no longer justified for them to put a control over you because you are a thinking autonomous person. So I think this is a special exception when it comes to children, because children they don't know anything. They need
Yeah.
they need a system of governance more than anybody.
Yeah.
Now,
They might want a tattoo one day, and maybe that's not such a good idea, and maybe they should wait until they're a bit more developed
yeah, for
before they
sure.
get a tattoo or make some other, you know,
Well,
like getting married or something, like they could think that they're in love when they're 13 years old, and that getting married would be the best thing, but maybe they should wait a bit.
well, it's like how many children have you seen that are like it's a really fucked up thing and it's not cute. It's not cute when this happens, but like there's a lot of kids that are addicted to sugar. Yeah, I would say it's
Yeah.
most American kids. And what that
Yeah.
does, that's intentional to make you an addict. You have an addictive personality by the time you're an adult. And if you have shitty parents, they're not going to dictate what you do and don't eat. You need if it's up to you, you're going to make the decision to eat sugary food all the time. But that's not healthy for you. Now,
Yeah.
when it becomes adults, even if it's just we start a commune and we have a piece of land and I grow potatoes and you grow apples, there is a system of governance, even if you and I never talk about this. And that system of governance is something like we're going to work together if someone ever tries to take our shit. We have, and what that is a military, right? Like that protects us from foreign adversaries. So it's like if anyone ever tries to get our shit, all of the able-bodied people are going to work together to stop that from happening. We're not going to let Dakota's potatoes get taken, but protect my apples. It doesn't work that way. So
Yeah, you bet your ass, man. I'd sign up for the military if our country got attacked and we were invaded and we had, foreign boots on the soil. I would enlist immediately.
yeah, it's
Like I would
if
I
I
would
if,
protect
yeah
us.
if I I'd be I'm I wish I believed in America used to mean something, and I'm very much a patriot, but I our biggest enemy is within right now. It's within
I do agree with that too. I think that we've hollowed out our country and have shipped out all of our
yeah,
resources. We only import things, and
and
we've
the
given
people
away
in
all of our
charge don't work for us. They work
yeah,
for
all of
another
our all
country.
of our financial assets are owned by
Yeah,
people all abroad in the world.
yeah,
People from everywhere are participating in real estate and in the equities markets and in the bonds markets. Um, and we don't produce anything. We like all of our GDP is overspending from the government essentially.
yeah.
We have 7 companies in the stock market that perform well. We
It's
got the
it's fucked. It's as
yeah.
an American, we are much like the Chinese people. We are slaves to the Chinese government, just like it is for people in China, which I think is an important distinction because the Chinese government is running a lot of shit right now, but it's not. The people in China are also victims to this, like just as much as we are, and
Oh yeah.
it's
There's a
like,
revolution going on there called
yep,
called lay flat or
yep,
or let it rot.
yeah,
And it's kids our age that
yep,
they they realize that they're never ever going to own property.
yep,
um and like I did own property. And this is one of the reasons that I got so into Bitcoin is I wanted to start saving for property again so I could homestead. And I was just thinking about, okay, if I save $10,000 this year, really after inflation, it's only like $9,000 or $9,300 that I saved up. and then I'm gonna save up 10 grand the next year. Or really it's only $9,300 that is saved up or less. Right. So I keep on just stacking these -7% or 5% every year.
It continues to depreciate. Yeah.
And at the same time, what's happening, the house is also getting more and more expensive.
Yep.
Or the property is getting more and more expensive
Yep.
every year. So like Bitcoin might be risky, but at least it's decentralized and it doesn't have 12 human beings determining the price of money. Instead, it's the whole world is determining the price of money.
That is exactly my argument about policing. Is like me and you are going to do a better job defending something than well, clearly better than the police are. And like the police have not great response times, and I'm not even blaming that on them. They're not miracle workers. They can't show up when something's happening. I'm not blaming that on them. I'm just saying it's ridiculous to think that they can actually do something preventative. Like like a lot of the problem with police is people's expectations of them. Like how you shouldn't use the police as your first line of defense. That's not good.
No,
I mean,
they're
you
absolutely
should call the cops.
last resort.
Yeah, it's like if the police are an option, you should call them if you have a problem, but you should also be equipped to handle this yourself. It's like, and that used to, like castle doctrine. It's like if someone breaks in my house, I have a right to kill them because they're a threat. I don't really need to know their motivation even. It's like there's not time for me to think about that.
Yeah, you probably have a good idea of their motivation.
Yeah, it's not good.
Right. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, but if I'm waiting for the police to show up, whatever they're going to do is going to be done already. And I don't know. I don't really hate on police officers, but I don't really believe in a police force to begin with. Like I said, America, it worked well for a lot of time without a police force. And anyway, I bring that up because it comes back to this whole you can either put your money in the US dollar, which is going to depreciate and it's going to devalue yourself, or you can take a chance. So it's like, do you want the thing that you are absolutely sure is going to not be good, or do you want to take a gamble? And it's like, at least one, there's a chance.
And let's say the United States says, well, you can't, it's illegal to use Bitcoin now. We won't allow your bank to let you send money to a Bitcoin company to buy it. Well, they can't stop you from using it, and you can still trade goods and services for it no matter what. And Bitcoin is interesting. So there's a thing called a seed phrase. Whenever you get a wallet, you write down a seed phrase or you stamp it in a metal. And let's say your phone is destroyed or you flee the country or you do whatever, you lose access to that wallet. Well, all you need is 12 words that are in your head or written down on a innocuous sheet of paper or hidden inside of an email somewhere, which probably is not a good idea. I would not put these things online in any way, but you could do it. You could put it in an encrypted file in the cloud that only you have the encryption key to.
Yeah.
And you can literally take it anywhere. So, and there's no way that, because it's not physical, it's digital. Try and take $10,000 through an airport or a gold bar through an airport.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. Try
if
and
take a number with you. Yeah.
Send someone $10,000 overseas and see what happens. How long does that take to do? How much paperwork is there? What's the fee on that? how soon do they get it? So I mean, Bitcoin, it works. I've used it as a money before, and it's a little scary. It's not easy to use. It's been around for 15 years. It's going to get easier and easier to use as it gets built into there's a layer 2 to Bitcoin called the Lightning Network, and the Lightning Network is not a blockchain. It you hold Bitcoin on the blockchain, and you make a 2-to-2 transaction that's going on, and me and you are both parties in this. And what it allows us to do is we can send Bitcoin back and forth to each other, and we can send it to anyone else that we're connected to on the Lightning Network through each other. So let's say I don't have a channel with Alan, but me and you just made a channel, and you and Alan have a channel. Now I can send payments to Alan.
Gotcha.
And it happens in 1 second. It's instantaneous, and the fees are, I don't know, like a tenth of a penny or less, maybe a hundredth of a penny in some cases, to use the Lightning Network. So it's the cheapest digital payment that there's ever been, and it's also the fastest, and it's non-reversible, so it's final settlement.
Nice.
I
think that's part of the fear with some people is like Bitcoin is so final, where it's like if you lose that number you were talking about, like it's gone forever. And
yeah,
and also so it is very fragile and dangerous. It's not as safe as an investment sometimes, but it's unregulated, so I'm fine with it. Like, that sounds good to me. Like, again, I hate the government. Hate is a strong word. I fucking hate the government. And anything they do has been a complete disaster. So I'm willing to go with anything besides that.
Bitcoin is probably the most well-governed thing on the planet.
Really?
Yeah. So Bitcoin governance is completely decentralized, and you have to have a super overwhelming, let's call it a 95% majority, to get something to change about Bitcoin. So it's kind of ossified, and it's pretty concrete. It's really hard to get it to change. There hasn't been a monetary policy change in Bitcoin in its 15 years of existence. The way that the money works hasn't changed in 15 years. And it never will.
I guess I want to think it's more, it's less regulated than it actually is, but it's actually heavily regulated.
Well, the difference is the way that it is regulated. It's like you could be part of the government of Bitcoin just by running it on your computer, and you decide which version is the right Bitcoin.
Okay.
And if you pick the wrong version of Bitcoin, which there's 100,000 of the wrong versions of Bitcoin, like you could go buy a cryptocurrency called Bitcoin Cash, and you'd be making a huge mistake because that's the wrong version of Bitcoin.
I got you.
So you can download the right version of Bitcoin and use that, and no one's going to change it. No one person can change it. Let's say the government says that it's bad. Well, maybe not everybody thinks that, and they keep buying it. So if Bitcoin is useless, why do all these bankers and stuff keep on talking about it and saying that it's dead?
Yeah.
So they say it's useless, but it's also used for money laundering, and by criminals, and for tax evasion, and for arms dealers.
Sounds pretty useful to me.
Yeah, it seems like a whole lot of uses there. Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin, who no one knows who he is. That's just a made up name.
Yeah.
He said, imagine that there's a metal, and this metal is rare like gold, but it's gray and it's ugly. It's not conductive and it's not malleable, so you can't really use it for electronics or for jewelry, and it's not beautiful, so you can't use it for art. But it has one magical property to it, and that's that you can teleport it to anywhere on the planet in 10 minutes. Doesn't have any value to it. And he said that whenever Bitcoin had no value to it, and a quarter of all the Bitcoin had already been issued. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
All right, so let's jump on to this one here.
Yeah,
this was
the next one. Alice, if you're just listening, it says man, woman, and child, and it's 3 stick figures. I think that's comments on this one.
This was the very first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that I did, and showed it to my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, "That's really controversial. That's going to trigger people."
Yeah.
And I was like, and just because I did this, that's how the whole series started, and I was like, "What?
I think
why?
Yeah.
Why? How?"
Yeah, I just, so again, I think what is quote unquote controversial about this is people reading into more than what you actually said. But if you take what you said on face value, it isn't. But people want to imply things about what you say. Well, like the whole concept of the dog whistle is like sure, maybe people are communicating things more than what they're saying, but like also you're not a mind reader. Like I have a real big problem with like I struggle with tone. Sometimes I sound more angry than I am. And I make it a real point to listen to what people say rather than how they said it. And I wish people gave me more of the same courtesy, because that's how I communicate. That's how I listen. I'm listening to what you're telling me, not your tone. Because I'm bad with tone, so I kind of assume other people are too. So it's like people are going to assume a tone when you make a painting like this. But what you actually said is what you said. And if you want to extrapolate more out of that, it's a free country, do what you want. But this is actually a very simple message. Man and woman equals child. And my comments on this were 1 + 1 = 1. And I made another comment that says 1 + 1 = 3. And what I mean by that is it takes 2 to make 1. It takes a man and a woman to make 1 child. But it also, if you take a man and a woman, they make 3 when they create a child. So I obviously that doesn't make any mathematical sense, and that's not really what I'm trying to say here. But it yeah. Anyway, I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah. I think what would happen if I were to paint a picture of a chair and then paint on top of it chair, or paint a tree and say tree. I'm not sure if people would argue, but there's so much talk about like gender and sexes right now, and I think that's why this is like, if I were to have made this painting, or someone made a painting like this in the 90s, it wouldn't have meant anything. And I don't know, people are going to think that I'm anti
Well,
this or anti that because of this picture?
well, as someone who experiences gender dysphoria, like I present as both genders, and the way I look at that is, I know who I am, and only I have the authority over what I am. But when we talk about words, you familiar with the Tower of Babel, like the story
Yeah.
of Babel? So
Yeah.
Nimrod is leading these people to create a tower, and part of that story is they're trying to get to heaven. It's about a usurping. They're trying to get to God, uh, which of course this didn't fucking happen, and ancient people knew this didn't happen. It's only recently that we go, oh yeah, that really happened. Uh, but it's a story, and it's a beautiful story, because what happens is God, he says, if man were left to their own devices, they would be capable of anything. So God is expressing fear over his creation. He says, I can't let them do this, because if they do, they're going to overthrow me. So,
Let's disperse them all and give them
yeah,
different languages.
exactly. So he divides their languages. So this is actually what's happened in English. English is particular, as a poet, I think I qualified to speak on. If there's one thing I'm qualified to speak on, it's words. And as a fellow poet, I think you are too. And it's um, English is one of the it's one of the reason it's such a beautiful language for poetry, much like French, is because it is so malleable, and it's so fucking. I can twist a phrase and make it into 1,000 different things, which is the beauty of English. But what that also means is definitions are fluid, and words evolve over time. It's not in stone like something like Hebrew. So
Yeah, you could write a poem about baking and eating bread, and it really just be about war
yeah,
with
exactly.
English.
So right now we have two different definitions, two different opposing definitions of what a woman is, for example. And what that means is these two people are speaking different languages, and these two people are never going to agree over what this word means because they're speaking two different languages. So, like both of them are right in this argument, because they both have a different, like they technically can't, neither can be wrong. Now, the word woman does have two different definitions now. That's a recent development, but regardless of how you or I feel about that, that is true, and that's probably going to become more true, right? So
Yeah, I do think we're headed towards like a sexless or genderless
yeah.
world.
So the
Yeah.
question is whether that is a good thing or not. The question isn't whether this is happening or not. I think everyone can agree that this is happening. Definitions of basic things are changing. To kind of make an extreme example of this, like there are people who claim to be animals, and it's like, I mean, only if we change the definition of what animal means. But if you have gone as far as to change the definition, then by your own definition, you cannot be wrong about that. So this is the big downfall with English, and it's also its greatest strength. But this, I don't know, it's a thing where it's like, no, I have a really thick skin, and that's because I was bullied as a kid. But that also is because you have to give someone permission to offend you.
Mm-hmm.
So if, for example, Dakota, if you were to say something that offended me, that's because I allowed you to do that. No one really has the authority to tell me who I am and to evoke emotion from me without my consent. So if like if you were to refer to me as something I didn't want to be called, that literally means nothing to me unless I've given you that value, right? So I think I think the gender argument is completely semantical for the reasons I just outlined. It's whatever you think it is, because that's how English works. So, but the question is like, it becomes like, are you going to be offended about that, or can we just agree to disagree? And it's like, I think if people want to wear a dress and call themselves a woman, even though they have a penis, that's like, as an American, I think you are free to do that. When you try to tell me to behave a certain way and address you a certain way, as an American, I disagree with that. So like, I think this can be applied to anything, right? Like one of the great libertarian memes is, I'm all in favor of married gays growing pot and having guns to protect it. And it's like, you can be gay and be married, and you can have guns and you can grow pot, because that's none of my fucking business. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just we people are too easily offended is the problem. If we disagree about something, we should be able to just disagree about it civilly, but no one seems capable of doing that anymore.
Yeah, I can disagree with someone and have a conversation and not be mad at them too.
Yeah.
And disagree with all of it, and still respect them too.
Yeah. I go out of my way to surround myself with people that don't put me in a bubble, that will challenge me. I appreciate your voice in my life, because you and I don't agree about a lot of things, but I love hearing your opinion on it, because I mean, it's different from mine. That's a big part of why I appreciate it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the open dialogue was supposed to be about. And even though lots of people got upset and angry and they were fighting with each other, I still think that it was somewhat successful and beautiful, even if it was just kind of mirrors of hate. Um, like maybe I think you like messaging me and saying like, hey, I like this stuff. Like, I think this is important work. I got several messages like that where people would send me a message and they'd say, hey, I'm not going to comment on this. I'm not really into the internet public forum thing, but I think that what you're doing is important and I value it. And that's nice to hear.
Yeah. A lot of it, that shows a lot, actually, because what that means is people are afraid. People are afraid of um, approving of dialogue. It's such a weird thing, but like the most
I
controversial
was
thing about what
scared to
you do,
fucking post it. You
yeah,
know, I was very scared to post these things.
reasonably so, man.
Yeah.
And like that's not a crazy fear. Like paranoia is when it is, or a what is that? It's a phobia is when it's unrealistic. But what you have, like, that's not an unrealistic fear to have. It's people take it way too far, and it's because they're brainwashed. It's like a witch hunt. Um, but I think this dialogue is about the only thing worth valuing to in a strong degree. Like, I do think the gender conversation is silly. I think both sides are right, depending on how you define it. Just because, again, we're speaking two different languages. So depending on which language you're speaking, and so the debate becomes whether that should be accepted as a definition or not, not if it is or not, because it certainly is. I think even though it's a recent development, probably like, well, there's a lot of fucking Americans that think gender is a feeling. So whether that's something that's a good thing to do or not, it is definitely becoming an accepted definition. And it's not like words existed in stone before people existed. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. They will change and they have changed. They will change. And
yeah,
there's not all progress is necessarily
yeah,
good, but guess what? You ain't gonna stop it either.
that's exactly what I'm saying. It's whether this is a good thing or not, it's happening. So
Yeah.
I don't think really anyone can debate about that. So
There's a saying I've said for years. It's you can't uninvent the knife.
yeah,
So it's
personally,
like,
like I feel the way I feel, and I really don't give a fuck what anyone calls me. And that's
yeah,
like on either side of that. I really don't have any preference because I don't give a shit. I assign my own value to myself. No one's gonna tell me. No one's. I mean, like, no one's really gonna have a serious sway over that. You know. And like, I mean, not in a bad way either. I'm open to criticism and I'm open to dialogue, obviously, but I make the final decision on that. And it's only offensive when you don't make the final decision on that, when someone can decide something for you.
yeah. I'm all about freedom.
Yeah.
For children, like you said earlier, I think that is a different story.
It's a different thing.
But
You don't need to force these concepts on children. And I would say that goes for the gender stuff, and that goes for politics, and that goes for religion. Religion is not, as someone who grew up in a Christian cult, religion is not for children. We're talking about some very serious, we're talking about the nature of reality. And a child does not have as an adult, we don't really have the capacity to understand these things, but certainly a child doesn't.
yeah, yeah.
I,
I mean,
I
it,
think I
it
cut you
kind
off.
of just becomes a fear mechanism, right? It's your dad's dad. It's like, oh, your dad's gonna get mad at you if you eat another cookie. You're gonna go to hell and burn for forever, kid.
Yeah, it's all bad. It's all bad for kids. Let kids be kids. Stop fucking indoctrinating them, regardless of what it is you're trying to indoctrinate them with. Like, just
Yeah.
they don't need to be thinking about much of anything except,
How to have fun and play and how to
exactly.
count to 100 and write their name and their address and where they live and maybe mom and dad's cell phone number.
Yeah, yeah.
Making friends.
Hey, on this, well, before we move on to another one, like I think parenting is probably the most significant, important thing a person can do with their life. Now, it's not for everyone. Not everyone should have kids, but if you're going to do it, what I mean to say is it's you should take it seriously because it is
Yeah.
the most important thing you can do. It's the easiest thing to fuck up, and you're going to fuck it up.
You're going to. I mean, I'm not even a parent yet, and I know that I'm gonna fuck it up.
My friend always makes fun of me that if I have kids, they'll be like, "Fuck you, Dad. I'm gonna go be a conservative Christian, and I love the government." It's like, God damn it. Fuck.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna raise my children on a homestead and be real self sufficient and stuff,
Yeah.
and or whatever those semantics are, and they're probably gonna move to a city.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I fucking hate that shit. Fuck growing plants, man.
Yeah. I don't like chickens.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the most thankless job. It's the most important thing you can do. And like I feel like a lot of Americans, probably just people in general all over the world. It sounds like based on what you're telling me about China, this is a similar thing there. But I feel like I've been robbed of a chance to own property and to have a family with 2 kids and a dog and a picket fence. The American dream has been taken from me. So and like you're one of the most self-sufficient people I know, and you admittedly would not be self-sufficient if you had to be. You would die.
Yeah.
And so I don't have any delusions about surviving what's coming. I'm just more like, while I'm here, I'm going to try and do what I can to destroy it because it's going to kill us all. And we need to be urgent about this. So, like, as much as I hate violence, I don't, at a certain point, I don't believe in the system. I wish I believed that I could just elect someone that would fix everything, but I don't think my vote means shit. And
No.
there's only certain options left to me at that point. I would get into law or politics if I believed in either of those things.
I'm curious about something that you had just said, and if it just so happens to line up with the next picture.
Okay.
Maybe it's just right on the money. Nope.
Alice, this one says marriage is between a man and a woman, and it's a picture of Joe Biden. This one is so funny to me.
This was quoted. I think this was quoted in like 2006 or 2008.
I'm very familiar with this. He says, in the coming months, we're going to be discussing gay marriage and God knows what else. Marriage is between a man and a woman. Jack. He doesn't say Jack, but that's a very Biden thing. Kind of like you will own nothing and you will be happy. Klaus Schwab famously said, and he didn't say I will own nothing and I'll be happy. He said you will own nothing and you're gonna fucking like it, you piece of shit.
Okay, rules for thee and not for me. This is the one I was thinking it'd be, because
so this one's a house. It says good luck affording that. It's a house and a car and a yard. So what were you gonna say about this?
That's the thing you were just saying is like, I don't think I'll have a chance to own property, have children, have a family, a car, a dog, all that stuff. The picket fence, the American dream.
Yeah. I think this is it's exactly that. It's a dream now. It's not going to happen for most people, most Americans. And so where I'm at now is like, what other options have you given me, government, besides radicalizing? What other options have you given me besides tear you down by any means necessary?
The dream now is an apartment with 3 roommates and a $20 an hour job. That's the realistic American dream. Is 3 roommates in a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,000 a month.
A living wage between 3 of us that don't want to live together. Yeah, that's that's what's realistic. So I'm just kind of like, how long are we going to put up with this before we do something about it? And I mean, like, man, like, I think it was shortly after you moved, actually, but like maybe like a year and a half ago, I was even more radical than I am now. And not only was I thinking about it, but I was taking steps to do something that would have got me killed or put in jail. And to be completely honest with you, Dakota and Alice, I'm still that person. I still am just as radical, but what it took was people close to me being like, hey man, you're not going to get anywhere. Even if you, like you're gonna fail at whatever it is you're trying to do. And even if you were successful, it's not going to change anything. And it's going to have thrown away your entire life.
Yeah. And then you get strung up on the wall. And you're like, oh, and this is an example. See, we've got this white nationalist terrorist.
Oh yeah, I'll be labeled the most awful thing. They'll somehow find really awful things on my computer that were never there until the government got it.
Or they'll use that that you sometimes identify as a woman and that you're gender fluid, and they'll be like, look, this is what the crazy LGBTQ plus QAnons are doing now.
Or they'll take something really like right of center that I've said and turn it that way. Like here's a like spin it into like a he's a MAGA or something like that. And like either way, they just radicalize it, use it to divide people. It'll cause more harm than good. So what I've unfortunately it's not good enough for me. But realistically, all I can do about it right now is talk about it and get more people talking about it. And maybe together, if we all get people talking about it, we can start a revolution. But it takes more than me and you. It takes an army. But I mean, we got to do something now because this dream we're looking at is getting further and further away from us.
I think that you can vote with your dollars, and that's what I'm doing. You can vote with your feet, and you can vote with your dollars, right? So I'm voting with my dollars. I'm not going to save in a currency that's just being printed out of existence. That's just going to end up hyperinflating. And I don't want to keep on using a social networks where I get banned for just a simple message that doesn't break any of the community guidelines. Or like I posted a satire of the WEF a week or two ago, and it got flagged. It was like, hey, you're missing.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. I wonder if that's is someone reporting it?
Yeah. It was satire. I said that it was satire, and in the video itself, it says it's satire.
But
so
yeah, that's either malicious or it's automated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fuck that shit, man. I'm interested in getting on what is it? Nostra?
Yeah, Noster. Yeah. So something else that's interesting about Noster is you just click someone's profile picture, and hey, speaking of, there's that post.
Yeah.
You just click a little lightning bolt on someone's profile picture, and you can send them Bitcoin over the Lightning Network.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that the last of
Yeah.
We're into the counterfeits now. This is a great series too. Are these for sale also?
These are for sale. Yeah. Mona Lisa is sold, and Irises by Vincent van Gogh is sold. That one is sold, but the other ones are available.
I love this series too. This is my favorite.
Yeah, if anybody, I would say between like 200 to 500 bucks if anyone's interested in any of these. Some of them are pretty big. They're all painted with puff paint.
This one's really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Was that the last of the let's talk about it, open dialogue?
Mirrors of Hate, aka I'm a right-wing extremist now. Yeah, that was the end of
anyone who actually knows you knows that's not the case. Like there's a lot of people that like if you've ever talked to Dakota, you know that's not who he is. And like I can see if someone didn't know who you are and saw these paintings, they might, and they're already brainwashed, they could think you're trying to say more than you are. But I don't think anyone that actually knows you thinks you're doing anything out of ill intention.
Yeah. Some of it's just kind of poking that people are so divided. I would say is and what I wanted to do and why it's called open dialogue is get people talking, even if they disagree, to see that it is okay to disagree.
Yeah. Some of my favorite discussions I've had on this podcast are people that strongly disagree with me. And it's because I learned something from that. If you have a radically different point of view than me, I'm probably going to learn something at least about your argument, you know? That's like the best thing I could do for myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what this is all about, right? Is connecting and learning and growing. And I want to be open to hearing perspectives, and maybe my views on things change over time. And I think I should be allowed to evolve and grow as a person and spiral and fuck up too and make mistakes.
You do that, Dakota. Can't let you ever have a wrong opinion. I'm not gonna let you do that. You're gonna.
All of them are wrong. They're all wrong, right? They're all distortions of the truth. And I think words mess things up a lot.
I think part of the problem is people are arguing in bad faith, where it's like they have this dogmatic viewpoint where it's like, I'm not okay. Anytime I have a conversation with anyone about any subject, My goal of that is to hear your point of view and understand it, and for you to hear my point of view and understand it. It's not me trying to change your mind. And that's the problem we have now, is everyone
Yeah.
already has it figured out. I already know what the answer is on this. So the only thing I can get out of a conversation with you is to convert you to what I'm saying. And that is
Yeah.
that's people are just not arguing in good faith. Everyone's in a cult, whether it's the DNC or Scientology.
Yeah, I don't think that you ever change anyone's mind with hate, right? Like, I wonder how many people have stopped being like KKK members with love.
I will say there's a lot of people in our generation that are not willing to listen to reason and logic. Not just our generation, but ours is certainly no exception to it. And I think shame can be, unfortunately, can be a powerful motivator. If you can't get to someone with reason, what you can do is make their idea not cool anymore. If I get celebrities, if I get well respected people to call something else cringe, that's cringe now. And people that are not willing to think for themselves will at least go with the status quo. So if we can't fight these people with logic, what we can do is fight it with shame. And I wish it wasn't the case. But sometimes that's all people listen to, is whether or not it's cool or not.
Yeah, I think we gotta use love. I think love is the most powerful tool that we have, and that's done in person. And there's a lot of understanding that you can get from that, especially if you know in the Kabbalion for Hermeticism,
Yeah.
right? It talks about things existing on like a sphere, and there being like some poles to it, and so hate and love exist on the same sphere, and hate is the lower vibration, love is the higher vibration,
Yeah.
and we can transmute that hate into love. And I don't think that you're going to do it on the internet with a I disagree with you, let's all just care about each other, but also you're a racist. Like, I don't think that that's going to do it, but I think being in front of someone and listening more than you talk, you might learn something,
Yeah.
and you might be able to say, I haven't thought of it that way. Maybe I have been thinking about this wrong.
Yep.
What you're saying to me is making a lot of sense.
Yep.
And I had a lack in perspective because I haven't dealt with things like that in my life or had that experience. But I do think that you need those energies. Like it's probably a lot more physical, and we're getting a lot more vibrations from each other if we're in person, right? Like
Sure.
we're matching body language, we're matching facial expressions, we start using more similar words, even if we disagree with each other. And
100%. People are physical creatures. Like, I actually, on a similar note, I think romance is kind of the same way, where it's like, um, it's mostly pheromones, like whether my pheromones match with this other person's pheromones. And there are certain things like that where if there's not a certain, we call it chemistry because it literally is chemistry.
it is chemistry, right?
It is literally chemistry. If the
Girl, I
chemistry,
like the way you smell.
yeah, exactly. If the chemistry is not there, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
That is either a thing or it isn't. So when we get into like online dating, it's like, oh, that worked really well until they met up. And it's like, I mean, kudos to the people it does work out on, but I think that's largely chance. Things either like say la vie, like things are gonna Que sera, sera. Things will be what they will be, you know? And it's, there's only so much you can do about that. There is some sway to this, right? But not a lot.
It's hard to send your pheromone smell through a email.
Yeah.
Or
I think you'd get blocked if you could.
yeah. Maybe one day we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
And that'll help with internet dating a lot. Everyone's just smelling their phones like
Oh, not that one. Swipe left. Ugh. Dakota, you're one of my favorite people in the whole world, man. I love you. I miss you. I'm glad you're doing well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alex. It's been great.
Yeah, we could do this for another 3 hours, but we've been going for over 3 hours, so I think we should.
Oh, geez, really?
We should put a ribbon on this, but
yeah, we should put a pretty little bow on it, and then
yeah.
Let's cut out all the things that people will disagree with.
Okay, so this would be about 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's
turn this 3.5 hour interview into a 5 minute one. Yeah. Yeah, go check out Dakota's work. A lot of what we looked at tonight is for sale. Go get yourself a bad portrait too. And check out all of Dakota's other projects. He's a very prolific person, does a lot of things. I actually have one of your board games still. But poet, musician, painter, game developer, man of many hats. Dakota Jernigan, one of my best friends on the planet.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Let's do this again soon.
Awesome. This has been a pleasure. Bye, Alice. Bye, Alex.
Alice.